Oh, when you're ready, we can put this behind us. Sorry, I was.
Am I supposed to be hearing something or no?
No. Well, you were talking. What did you say? You want something?
No. Oh. No, I was just singing a song. All right, let's do a sports radio show.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday of July. Great show lined up for you. Magic numbers are 51, 56, 63, depending on which one you want to jump on. Hot steaming deal, Mark. Fired up.
Not jumping on any of those numbers. Those are all linemen. We're in the lineman number. I'm not jumping on a lineman. They're going to kick the crap out of me.
Not necessarily. I mean, 51, 56, that's a linebacker.
Oh, okay, great.
Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Mike Westhoff's going to join us in studio in a couple hours. He's written a book. He's got great stories with 30 plus years in the National Football League. Also spent some time in college ball. It's close with Don Shula. Has a great Bear Bryant story. Mike Westhoff in studio for what could be an hour. We'll just let the stories keep flowing.
As long as he wants to stay, he can stay.
Right. But young Felipe took us up on our offer yesterday. Well, really, it was 2 days ago. We were all over this when we came back from the holiday.
I had this game circled like a month ago.
Come on now.
Oh.
Come on now. You could not have known a month ago Ohtani was going to be pitching in a 2-game series.
Hey, I had the 2-game series circled. I had a feeling he would. Regardless, he would.
The odds are he would not have been pitching.
He knew he was pitching because he's never wrong.
Right.
He hasn't been wrong in 6 months.
Mark is right about that.
Of course he knew he was pitching.
Mark's right about that.
Never mentioned it once to us until we mentioned it.
Was circled for a month. I was going to say, how many times did we talk about heading on over, going to a Marlins game? He never
jumped in, but we circled for a month.
Right. But Felipe made the trek. Made the trek last night. By the way, what was the over-under that we had for attendance?
20,000, and it was nowhere near it.
What? It was close.
Was it close? Didn't look it.
It was close. Really? Didn't look it to you?
No.
All right. Because the shots I saw, I was thinking to myself, might be in the 18,741.
Okay.
Ooh.
So,
So they did a little over 30,000 for the 2-game set with Trout.
Right.
Town.
They did 13,330 the night. So we had put 40,000 as the standard. Could they Tuesday, Wednesday, Ohtani playing in both games, pitching in one of them. They came in with a 5-game winning streak, won on Tuesday, had a chance to get to 500 last night. So they did 32,071. So they averaged 16,000 a game for Trout, Ohtani, and the Angels, and they were on a hot streak. That's below average in July, too. Can't blame it on school.
Can't blame it on anything other than a fan base that doesn't show up. And those 2 games, you had your ace on the hill
on Tuesday.
Ohtani on the hill
right
on Wednesday. I mean, come on.
That's as good as it gets.
For a town that likes events and stars,
Yeah.
and I know, the young kid, the pitcher, there's not a star yet, but he's about to be.
He's going to be an all-star.
Well,
I mean, that's for sure. That's going to happen. In fact, you can make the case he should start the damn game. But all right, Felipe, how did it feel?
It was awesome. He made history. I don't know.
No,
if you guys know that.
no, not Ohtani. Just when you walked in, because you've gone to many a
Oh,
Heat game.
Okay.
You've gone to many a Miami sporting event. When you walked in last night, did the place have a buzz?
Tell you what, the traffic had a buzz. That's for damn sure.
Well,
But
that's not an easy place and not a lot of
Yeah.
parking. And
6:40 start too. Middle of rush hour.
Right. So okay. Once again,
I walked in.
Walking in, did it have a buzz? Yes or no? Not really.
Kind of.
I'm going to go with no because
Yeah.
he answered it with two different answers.
Yeah.
He,
I'm trying to.
It's a
recount
yes.
my
It's
steps,
a yes or no. I mean, you feel a buzz right away.
Not really.
So then
Not
it's no.
really. Okay.
There's a good amount of. I mean, I was like, okay, there's a good amount of people at this game, but
I will say,
no buzz.
Unfortunately, he's true. I mean, how many times on a Wednesday are they going to do 18-7?
Oh, never.
I mean,
It's the only time of the season.
well,
we'll do that.
you and I always go back to the D train.
right.
When you look at the attendance,
Yep.
it doubled, tripled. And
They did do 5,400 more people. Now, Wednesdays will do a little better than Tuesdays, but you could argue Ohtani brought in 5,411 to the ballpark.
I would say that's accurate.
So he's 5,000. So Ohtani was worth 5,000 at the gate. That makes sense. That used to be what D-Train was worth 5 to 7. 5 at the beginning when he got rolling. And
10 by
7,
10 by the
8,
time
yeah.
we got going. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised that he didn't pull in Yankee buzz because when the Yankees are in town, because last year, and I have to do some digging, and I'm sure I can find the exact number. I went to Anthony Rizzo's first career game as a Yankee.
Right.
Right after the trade in
Mhm.
Miami, he hit a home run. It was amazing. I was sitting in the upper deck because the upper deck was open because it was full.
There you go. So a little disappointing. I mean, 18-7's a shade over 50% capacity. But Felipe showed up. I expected Mark, whichever one of us got here first this morning, I was expecting that Felipe would be asleep in the back parking lot, that we were going to have to physically drag him into the building because he wasn't getting back till after midnight and the whole deal. And he just jumped out of his car. All right. He is on an Ohtani high right now. I could barely get out of my mouth, how was it? All right. And he was just raving about him. Was throwing, what was he throwing in the 7th inning? 100 miles an hour?
Yeah, he was throwing 99, 100. It was unbelievable.
So got to admit, you and I, a little older, you've got family in town, the whole deal, but Babe Ruth was pitching 2.5
No, I
hours
know.
away last night.
I know. My son had no interest in going. I asked him.
Wow. And that's what we've talked about over the years, that's one of the problems with the sport right now, because your son played ball and not that long ago was all in.
Right. And went to the college super regional and still watches baseball, but he was like, no, I'm good. We watched it.
Right.
Put it on, which,
Right.
hey,
Yeah, that's a start.
for us to put a Marlins game on in the
that's-
house at 6:40,
That's enough. Yeah.
I was asleep by 7:10.
By the way, I don't think Babe Ruth can run like Shohei.
Although I don't know if you ever watch those old films, man. Remember the
Oh, they speed everything up.
right
Stop.
the short, quick steps.
It's like you going for a foul ball.
That's
Cat whip.
right. It was Babe Ruth is me at the Trop.
That's right.
All right. Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. So it's a football Thursday with some Ohtani splashed in because goodness knows he is worth it. Were you Baker Mayfield traded? Were you surprised it was Carolina?
No, that's been the team rumored the most. And literally, with my son in town, the show's carried on for me. Usually the show's over at 10. The show's carried on during the week because
So
Jake and I have been talking a lot of NHL draft, which I almost called you for because
There
it's a
you
draft,
go.
and I know that would get you fired up.
Tonight, baby, 7 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen.
But
Hey.
yesterday we were on the golf course when it happened, and as I explained to him, he's like, "Why did this take so long?" I said, "Because Cleveland had this illusion that someone was going to pay more than 25% of Baker's salary. And until they finally figured out that no one was going to pay any money of Baker's $16 million or whatever it is for this year.
18.9.
Okay. I knew you'd have the exact number, but until someone was going to pick it up, a trade wasn't going to happen. So finally, Cleveland realized they got to pick up the majority of the salary.
And Baker apparently is like deferring $3.5 million and allowed for it to instead be something having to do with incentives. So Baker helped, make this trade happen because Carolina, like you said, they're like, listen, we will pick up this amount of money and that is it. And so Cleveland, not wanting to pick up all of the rest, actually went to Baker and his representatives and said, listen, would you agree to kind of rework the final year where you can earn that money, but you would have to do it in incentives? And Baker wanted out so badly that he was like, yeah, sure. So Baker could, because let's face it, don't know if he's going to be the starter. Never mind, will he reach the incentives if he is? So Baker could have forfeited a few $1 million yesterday in agreeing to rework the final year of his contract. I'm disappointed because this is exactly the deal a month ago that I proposed that the Tampa Bay Bucks make. It was not a 2023 draft pick. It was a 2024 draft pick, which will likely be more enticing for Tampa Bay for someone else to acquire, because let's face it, Brady's quarterbacking the Bucks this year, and we figure they're going to be a better team in 2022 than they are going to be in 2023 when we expect that Brady will be retired. And a few more core guys will likely leave. I mean, isn't that a fair expectation?
Yes, and the other side of this for Carolina, why did they defer it? Because they think they're going to be better by then and not give up something that's going to be potentially a top 10, top 12, top 14 draft pick.
And they've given up so many other draft picks for Darnold and to move up in the draft and get Matt Corral early in the 5th round. So they're like, listen, can we defer this to 2024 when we have a few more picks to give away? The Bucks don't have a 4th round pick in next year's draft. And I proposed give up a 4th round pick in the 2024 draft, bring Baker Mayfield into the fold, have him be the heir apparent. Because I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling it nor hearing it out of Tampa that Kyle Trask is the future. Now we'll see. If he ain't the backup quarterback this year, he ain't the future. I mean, you give a guy a year, he's the 3rd string, and he's inactive for all the games, that's fine. By year 2, he's got to be the backup. If he's the guy you're going to turn this over to, 3rd string, then he becomes 2nd string, and then, well, okay, you've had 2 years in the system. Let's see. I mean, even Jordan Love last year was what? He was 2nd string.
Don't know if he should have been, but
right. But this was exactly when I heard the deal, Mark. I was like, man, this to me was a missed out. And they picked up what? Just under $5 million in salary. And I was saying, if I'm Tampa, I'd pay $4 million for Baker Mayfield.
And look, even if they have hopes of Kyle Trask being the guy, there's no doubt that Baker Mayfield right now is more ready to take them to the playoffs, the Super Bowl, or whatever the case may be if Tom Brady were to get hurt. And that was the whole reason. It was an insurance clause in case Brady goes down. We are Miller and Moulton. Thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service.
e-motorcycles. Check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Poll question.
Should the Cleveland Browns have kept Baker Mayfield? Who would you pick as your starter? Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold?
I like the first one. It was just never a possibility, but I think it's a good poll question.
With a Watson suspension looming, comma,
Right.
should the Browns have kept Baker Mayfield? No, Jimmy Bird, if he ends up the starter, I mean, talk about the NFL just falling into it once again. We talk about it. Sometimes being lucky is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, for the NFL, a game that has no buzz. You got 16 games week one, and one of your bottom four games is Cleveland at Carolina until yesterday. And now, if Baker wins the gig, it could be one of your top 5 games of week one. Yeah, they host them. Carolina hosts the Browns.
I went with yes, it was over, and no way.
Wait a minute. Wait. The question is, should they have kept him, right?
Or should they have? I said, should they have traded Baker Mayfield?
Oh, okay. So should they have traded Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
Yes, it was over.
No way.
No way. Got it.
Damn, we got a poll question up already.
Oh, that's twice this. That's 2 out of 3 shows this week.
I know.
Right? The heck? I think Schwarber's over-under for homers this year was like 31.5. He's at 27 right now through 80 games. Morning, Paul.
Holy shit. Sabrini Ionescu, 31, 11, and 10, no turnovers. Nice.
Yeah, and they suck though, don't they? Which is,
I think so.
and she's like the best player in the league, arguably.
Wow, third career triple-double, tied most all time with Candace Parker already.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope your week's going well. For many, this is like hump day. But
What a day is today?
you said on Tuesday you're going to be messed up all week. It is Thursday today. It is Thursday, the 7th of July.
All right, good to know.
We're already over the hump.
Right. College football season, week 1, Pitt, West Virginia, 8 weeks tonight. Wow. Channeling your inner Ric Flair
Yep.
there. That was
Never a bad time for a woo.
Woo!
9 weeks tonight, Bills and Rams at SoFi. Hence, the magic numbers being 51. 7 weeks from Saturday is week 0, Nebraska Northwestern. 51 or 56 or 63, week 1, and then week 1 of the NFL. So I'm telling you, it's doable from here, baby. I mean, Bills rookies report to training camp a week from Monday. 11 days away.
Is that the first group
I
reporting?
believe the Bills are the team that have their rookies showing up first on the 18th, and then there's 2 or 3 teams that have rookies showing up on the 19th. But within 3 weeks, I mean, the final week of July, everybody opens training camp for not just rookies, I mean, veterans. Last full week of July, everybody opens up. So, you know, you're talking 18, 19 days basically till all the training camps are open. And the sports world just continues to deliver. I mean, there's meat on the bone every damn day. And here we are. And also, I mean, this is a bad NBA free agent season. Like normally NBA free agency is sexy. The trade market is sexy. Free agency, I mean,
is a dud. I mean, largely
right.
when we're getting excited about PJ Tucker moving to the 76ers.
Right, and Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks.
Right.
I mean, you know, because I'm sorry, Harden doesn't count. I mean, Harden technically became a free agent just so that Philly could maneuver their books. And there's a couple other guys. I mean, I guess DeAndre Ayton, where he's going to end up. But I think we're making the point. Usually, first week of July is dominated by a very sexy NBA free agency. It's actually not much going on. All right, but there's a lot going on everywhere else. Am I off base about the Bucks? If
You're not off base, but you are making I don't know if it's a safe assumption. You're making a pretty big assumption on what they think of Kyle Trask.
Well, and also it fits for those that are fairly new to Miller and Moulton. My theory has always been, and this is going back at least 10 years, to me, like what Pete Carroll did when he first went to Seattle and everybody made fun of him. You know, he traded away a lot of draft picks looking for a quarterback. And it turns out, I mean, they got lucky. Let's face it, Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. I mean, if they thought he was going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, they wouldn't have waited to the middle of the 3rd round to take him. And they got lucky. But he kept spending resources to sign Matt Flynn.
Got the kid from Clemson.
Exactly. Whitehurst, who he traded for from the Chargers, spends a 3rd rounder on Russell Wilson. Even after that offseason, he signs Matt Flynn and gives him $10 million bonus. All right, but Pete Carroll was like, listen, I'm going to keep bringing in quarterbacks. I only have to be right once. And you know that's my theory.
100%.
So to me, it's worth giving up a 4th or 5th round pick 2 years from now and $4 or $5 million, which I can afford because Gronk decided not to come back. I've got the money. And apparently I'm not going to spend it on Ndamukong Suh or JPP. So It's the most important position. To me, that's the one you take flyers on.
No, and I don't think you're off base. My only point is that for that, and we don't know if they even made a phone call. We don't know if this ever even came. This was a Miller and Moulton trade. This wasn't anything that was out there.
No. I don't even think the Bucs considered it.
But you don't know. The Bucs could have called, and you never know what's happened. But to me, this answers the question that they think a lot of Kyle Trask, rightly or wrongly.
Or they're hoarding draft picks because organizations have a tendency to do that. Although the Bucs have been aggressive in the past about giving up picks and making trades. They have been. Like in our Twitch chat room, all right, a comment was from Paul, Bucs are all in on today, not tomorrow. See, I would argue this would have been both. Let's face it, if Brady gets banged up, you're not going to win games. Baker Mayfield and the Browns, a year ago today, what was it that you thought about Baker Mayfield and the Browns? They won 11 games in the regular season, went to Pittsburgh and crushed the Steelers. Forget the final score. They were up 5 touchdowns at halftime. They crushed the Steelers in Pittsburgh in a playoff game and took the Chiefs to the gun in a second-round playoff game in Arrowhead. Let's face it. Come on. And a year later, this guy's not worth a flyer to be the guy who, come on. You're going to not remember Kyle Trask over Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, and if Tom gets hurt, Bucs fan, football fan, you really think Kyle Trask can go out there and go 3-1? Because that's what David and I talk about. Can you go 2-2, 3-1? If a QB has gone 4 games, can your backup go in there and get 2 of 4 or maybe 3 of 4?
And to me, if the worst case scenario goes about, the season's not totally over with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. It's not. It is now. It's over with Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. It's over. It's done.
Same way that we think the Cleveland season's already done.
Well, you want to talk about who's happier? Carolina for getting Baker Mayfield because clearly they wanted him, or else they wouldn't have spent nearly $5 million and a 5th-round pick, which could become a 4th, depending on playing time. Or the Niners, who are like, wow, we just got some leverage when the Browns call us for Jimmy G. This is fantastic. We had nowhere to send them. Now we do. Let's just hang tight a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. Watson's going to get suspended. And, hey, you make sure you keep that line clear, okay? Because the Browns are going to be calling.
In fact, get an old brown rotary phone and brought it in. I wanted to ring on that one.
Right. Well, the Costner draft day phone. Bring it out of the closet. We've been talking about this for weeks. If I'm the Browns, I would have made the deal even with them banged up. Because now, if San Francisco just say no, Cleveland can't if he gets a 8+ game suspension. They cannot look at their fan base, never mind their roster, and go, no, we're good with Jacoby Brissett. Come on. Sell that.
I don't know how you do, but are you sure they're going to make the trade?
I think it depends on the length of the suspension. Because a year is a long time in the NFL. You can't sacrifice a year in the NFL. Can't do it. Can't do it. Between free agency, between injuries, you can't do it. And that's a franchise also. You've given your fan base way too many bad years. And you just gave them another one last year. You can't just go, oh, well, we're going to go 7-10 this year. We'll see you in 2023. No way, man. Mark, you and I aren't into this sort of thing, but this is the time of year where people who do the NFL release their top 10 rosters in the NFL. Cleveland's in everybody's top 10. They're in a lot of people's top 6. This is a good team. This should be a good team. You can't send it in a battle with Jacoby Brissett.
Well, not unless you're going to win 7 games and sacrifice a season. But this is the Browns, and if I were to make a bet, I'm not willing to bet them making the smart move.
They got $40 million in cap room. They're not going to acquire Jimmy G. Miller and Moulton. The starting five is next. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pelicans and has been a national ESPN radio guy the last 3-4 years.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm pulling up some of your articles here, just looking at rosters. I always see where the Lions are at. God, do they hate Goff. I just like how they write it. There's reasons to be excited about the direction that the Detroit roster is trending. But the hole at quarterback makes it difficult to set expectations too high.
Yeah.
I just like how they have to try to write it nicely.
Yep.
You know?
Wait a minute. Chicago? Oh, to keep the Bears at Soldier Field as opposed to them moving what is it, Arlington Heights, where they're thinking of moving? If I'm the Bears, I move. That's not a good stadium. It's too small. They don't have the proper number of suites.
Can that be done, though?
What, a new stadium?
No, the suites at Soldier Field.
No, because they've already revamped Soldier
it
Field once and
right.
made it smaller. And listen, the Giants moved out of Yankee Stadium. All right. And people lost their minds 45 years ago. It worked out fine. He won his quarter-final matchup, Canada Relief. He plays Nadal in the semis.
And Nadal might not play. So he might walk right to the final.
We'll see.
What?
I know. We'll see.
I think he'll play, but I said he might not. I didn't say he wasn't going to play.
There's no one with more drama than Rafael.
Right.
Nadal.
No, I got you.
Right.
You see, Rafi might not play.
That's what we were just talking about.
No way. He's on a tear right now. Did you guys catch any of that match yesterday?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good.
It was.
So good.
I felt awful for Fritz.
Yeah, he fought. He gave Nadal work. But he folded. He sold. He threw. You blew it. You know what? At least he has a hot girlfriend.
He played his whole life to get to that match.
Yeah. He's only 24. He'll be back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Frank Garcia, he's part of the Charlotte, North Carolina sports radio scene. Played for the Carolina Panthers for a good while. He'll join us an hour from now. They've got themselves a new quarterback, and his name is Baker Mayfield. Talk to Frank Garcia in an hour. And Mike Westhoff will join us in studio at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. He's written a book. He's got great stories. This will be fun. So it's going to be largely a football Thursday. How about that?
Nothing wrong with that, David. Nothing at all wrong with that.
Right now, time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
As we mentioned, Baker Mayfield to Carolina. Mark, feel free to grade how each team did in the deal. Carolina gave up a 5th-round pick in 24. It could become a 4th-rounder, depending on how he plays and how much he plays. And they picked up a little less than $5 million of Baker's $19 million salary. Browns picking up most of the rest, although they got Baker to redo his contract and defer, or move, I should say, about $3.5 million of salary into incentives. So the grade you give Cleveland, they trade Baker Mayfield on July 6th. They pick up $10+ million of his salary, and they get a 5th in 2 years.
C minus.
Meanwhile, Carolina.
I give him an A. They don't have a quarterback. Sam Darnold, I do not think, is the answer. They went out and acquired somebody that could be the quarterback. If he's not, they did not give up much to find out if they could find a quarterback, a franchise quarterback.
Imagine mouthing out the combo of Christian McCaffrey and Baker Mayfield to someone in 2016.
Well, imagine how amazing is this. What was it, the 2018 draft? Baker goes 1 and Darnold goes 3, and now Carolina has them both. Let me ask you this, hypothetical. Baker Mayfield plays as well and as effectively as he did in 2020 for Cleveland. How good is Carolina this year?
I think their ceiling is a 7-8 win mark. It's not a good roster. It's a bottom 10 roster in the league.
Bottom 10?
Yes.
Depends on who you talk to.
It's a bottom 10 roster.
Some people have it bottom 10. Some people have it more like bottom 15.
Okay.
But depends on who you talk to. I mean,
now the good news is they have Atlanta in their division that has a bottom 3 roster. I mean, Atlanta's going to be fighting the Bears
the Giants
and the Texans for the first overall pick. So you could get 2 wins right there. But I put a ceiling on them of around 8 wins. I mean, if they got to 9 and 8, I think that would be a hell of an accomplishment.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because remember what the Eagles do last year. They only beat one team with a winning record all year, and it was the 9-8 Saints. But they managed to go 9-8 and sneak in as the 7th seed. So that's why I'm just throwing that out there. Because I mean, just imagine they get 2020 Baker Mayfield and knock on wood. Hey, can McCaffrey stay healthy for him this year? That would be kind of nice. He's only played like 10 games the last 2 years. So obviously that was the big NFL news yesterday.
They do open, as you mentioned before the show. Week 1. Cleveland.
Right.
At Carolina.
Correct. They host the Browns week 1. It's as if the NFL script writers said, all right, here's how this is going to work. We're going to take what was one of the 4 worst games of week 1 in terms of sex appeal, and we're going to make it one of the 5 sexiest games week 1. If we can just have Baker win the starting job.
Win the starting job, win the game, and just because I have their schedule in front of them, they go 2. Look, they're not going to be good.
Remember, they went 3-0 last year and then went 2-12 in their last 14.
They open with Cleveland at home, at the Giants, a bottom 5 roster, and then home for the Saints, who has a good defense, but we don't know how good the Saints are. It's a home game. I'm just saying they could be 2-0 hosting the Saints.
Baker against Jameis, a couple guys who went first overall. One other football note from yesterday. They had a meeting in Tampa about a new football stadium for the Bulls. And this is gaining steam. This thing's apparently going to happen. A $350 million stadium, going to seat around 35,000+. And they're talking about on campus just north of their current practice fields. And the plan is to get this thing built by 2026. So that would mean 4 more seasons at Ray J. And then they'd be on campus for 2026.
I'm telling you, when they win their first FCS title, it'll be a beautiful place.
One thing I will say to South Florida, and I'm all for you doing this, by the way. I'm all for it. Put Jim Leavitt in your Hall of Fame. All right, that's long overdue. Come on now.
Hey, Miami Hurricanes, take notes.
Tell you what, if you end up in the Big Ten with Big Ten money, maybe you could pull this off.
There you go.
John Ruiz is like, come on, do I have to pay for the whole damn thing?
Please?
I mean, I'm already paying for the roster.
All right, look it. And I know I was a little snarky with that South Florida comment. And you know I root for the Bulls.
Yeah, we both do.
I've wanted them to have unbelievable success.
Early in our first act, we did a live Friday show in the parking lot when they knocked off
West Virginia.
Steve Slayton and top 5 West Virginia. We're all in.
But is this stadium too late?
Well, it looks as if they're on the outside of everything that's going on. But, you know, teams do get added, as we've seen. I mean, 12 years ago, did we think TCU was going to be in the Big 12? You know, we can go right on down the list. I mean, it's a top 15 television market. They've been good before. But, I mean, who's to say, like, let's just say the Big 12 goes to 16 or they go to 18. I mean, who's to say, South Florida gets their act together? They got an on-campus stadium. Who's to say mid or late this decade, Big 12 doesn't look at South Florida, maybe one other school, and go, hey, why don't you join the conference? Let's move this.
I guess that's the ultimate dream that they could be going for.
Yeah.
Imagine
Also, what if the ACC gets rated here at some point in time? They're going to need teams.
I was about to get to that.
I mean, we talked about this. Your son goes to East Carolina. They're going to need schools.
You're right. If they get rated or they dissolve. See, and I would bet on them dissolving more than them rating the ECUs and the USFs of the world.
I think the ACC will stick around. I think the Pac-12 could dissolve if it gets rated, but we'll see what happens.
I'll remember that. I hope they get added to the ACC.
Absolutely. Major League Baseball, Ohtani is as advertised. 7 innings, gave up just 2 hits, struck out 10. He gave up 1 unearned run in the first inning. He also had a 2 RBI single in the 5th, which turned out to be the game-winning hit. He scored a run. He walked. He stole a base.
First player in MLB history to do so in a game.
5-2 Angels over the Marlins, snapping the Marlins' 6-game winning streak before 18,741 at Marlins Park. Ohtani's 8-4, by the way. He just won his 5th consecutive start. And since it was an unearned run, Mark, I believe if you go by unearned runs, scoreless streak is nearly 30.
It is the 4th start which he didn't allow an earned run. He is just the 7th pitcher since 1901 to go 4-0 with a 0 ERA and 40-plus strikeouts in a 4-start stretch during one season. He and Johan Santana are the only American League pitchers to do this in the divisional era.
You love going don't you?
I do. All came because I got the Ernie Harwell long when CDs were still a thing. His CD book, and he starts talking about things in '08 and '09, and I'm like, it's fantastic.
Rays in Boston beat the Red Sox again 7-1. Kluber with 6 shutout innings. Those 2 teams are tied for second in the East. They're only 14 back of the Yankees, who shut out the Pirates 16-0. 6 homers by the Yankees, including Judge hitting a slam, his 30th in 82 games. Aaron Hicks also with a slam. Stanton homered as well. Jays beat the A's 2-1 to snap a 5-game skid. All right. What do we put over under at? 8,000 for Oakland?
Yes.
63-30.
Unbelievable. What's going on?
White Sox in a wild one rally to beat the Twins 9-8 and 10, but Minnesota's lead still 4.5 in the Central because the Tigers swept a 4-game series from the Guardians. Cleveland's now 500, 8-2 the final. Cabrera with 3 RBIs. He's hitting 308. Mark, he might be the Tigers representative in the All-Star game.
Who else is it going to be?
I'm with you.
Baez has been terrible. The young kids haven't.
The lineup's been awful.
The young kids haven't produced at all.
I mean, you're going to put a pitcher in before Cabrera?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I mean, Boone's picking the All-Star team. Come on, got to pick Cabrera. Mets rally, tie it in the 9th, beat the Reds in 10, 8-3. Nimmo with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored. New York remains 2.5 ahead of the on-fire Braves. 3-0 over the Cardinals. I mean, they just swept the St. Louis Cardinals like they were the Royals. Max Fried with 7 shutout innings. Ozuna Rosario with back-to-back homers. Atlanta in their last 32 is a mere 25-7. Since June 1st, they've lost 7 games. That's how you pick up 8 games in the standings.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely amazing what they are doing.
Brewers couldn't take advantage. However, they lost to the Cubs 2-1. Their lead in the Central still 3. The Orioles are only 5 games below 500. They're only 6 out of the playoffs. 2-1 over Texas. Schwarber had 3 hits, including 2 solo homers. The problem is the rest of the Phillies only had 1 hit. Washington beat them 3-2. Astros 8-game winning streak snapped. They lost to Kansas City 7-4. Giants 6-game losing streak snapped. They rallied to beat Arizona 7-5. And the Dodgers lead in the West is now 6. They beat Colorado 2-1. Chris Sale may be ready. Hasn't pitched all season. He threw 72 pitches in a rehab assignment yesterday in Worcester. 3 2/3 innings with 72 pitches. And he said afterwards, quote, "I'm very ready," unquote. So we'll see if the Red Sox activate him either over the weekend to pitch against the Yankees in relief, or is he going to be a starter? And
what would you do there?
It looks as if, since they're stretching him out, that their intent is to make him a starter.
Well, that's what I thought too, and I think that's where the need is right now.
Yeah, I would make him a starter, meaning because I could always just fall back and say, tell you what, let's just put you in the pen for the rest of the year. He's already said, however you need me. Wimbledon, Rafa wins a 5th set tiebreaker to beat American Taylor Fritz. Rafa's nursing an abdomen injury. There's some doubt as to whether or not he'll be able to go tomorrow in the semis against Nick Kyrgios. 2 women's semis are scheduled for today. The 3rd seed, Jabeur, taking on unseeded Maria, and then 2 seeds in the teens, Rybakina against Simona Halep. Halep, the only one of the 4 that's ever won a Grand Slam. She won Wimbledon 3 years ago. NHL draft is tonight. Montreal is the first pick. And if you're into drafts, nobody has any idea how this draft's going to go. There's apparently 4 players that are better than all the rest. Nobody has any idea what order they're going to go 1 through 4. And then apparently beginning at 5, all hell is going to break loose.
Right.
And there's going to be 10 trades. And that's not an exaggeration, by the way.
No, it actually should be, Moulton, I would imagine you should tune in tonight. This is your kind of a draft.
All over it, Mark. Schedules were also released yesterday in the NHL. Lightning will open at the Rangers. Their home openers October 18th against the Flyers. The Panthers will open at the Islanders, and their home opener is also against the Flyers on October 19th. NBA, by the way, Caleb Martin re-signs with the Heat, 3 years for $20 million. The 26-year-old averaged 9 points a game last year. Sean Kelly is the new voice of the Florida Gators. He's 50 years old. He used to be the play-by-play voice of the New Orleans Pelicans. He spent the last handful of years being an ESPN radio play-by-play guy. Sean Kelly replaces Mick Hubert.
That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you have it. And the Scottish Open is underway with a great field. I think 14 of the top 15 players of the world are playing.
You know what I'm going to be doing during the commercial break? Making a request.
Miller and Moulton. 1 hour down and a few more to go. Frank Garcia, he covers the Charlotte sports scene. We'll talk to him about the Baker Mayfield trade next hour.
And Mike Westhoff will join us in studio in the 8 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, 6 people were brought in for treatment. A 30-year-old American who fractured his left arm and a 16-year-old Spanish boy who lost part of a finger in the bull ring.
There you go.
We ever had this many like prime minister? I mean, we've had a lot more heads of state resigning than I recall.
When you and I were growing up, Russia, because of deaths, went through like 3 leaders in 18 months, but because 2 of them died. Well, we were spoiled. We had, Margaret for 12 years.
Right.
And John Major did like 8 after her. So Britain went like 20 years with 2 leaders when we were growing up, so to speak. And even what's his face? He did like 8 years. The guy who was friends with Clinton, Tony Blair.
Blair, there you go. Wow, I just had a total brain cramp.
Oh, I know Halloween's on a Monday. We're in Cleveland. Bengals, Browns. Is Westhoff coming to the front of the back?
I told him to come to the back.
Does he know you can't get him till 5 of?
Well, if he's here and text me, we can send Felipe to get him too.
All right.
At about 7:45, I'll shoot him a text. Right, we're saying, hey, just text me when you get here.
DC, do you think it's because the game was so exciting? That's why they didn't do the chant?
Oh, wow.
And DC, I will say this. The Twins need to go get a reliever. That team may have a chance this year to win some playoff games, but they need a closer. I'm sorry. They need to go acquire Mark Melanson. Go acquire what's-his-face Robertson with the Cubs there. I mean, they need to get a reliever.
Hate to bring up something you probably don't care about, but Devin Booker on the cover of 2K23.
With Sue Bird, right?
Well, there's 2 covers. There's the one
Gotcha.
with Tarasi and Bird, and then there's the other one with Booker. I'd probably rather buy the Tarasi Bird one because Devin Booker lost the Game 7 at home by 40. Let's not forget that.
Blaming him for that?
No, but come on now. Yeah, he's good, but a little awkward on the timing. Unless he wins the chip this year, that'd be great.
I'm a little surprised it's not Luka or Ja.
Luka was on the cover this past year.
There's an
There you go.
interesting title, BBC News.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday of July. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. 7 weeks from Saturday, 51 days away, Nebraska Northwestern in Dublin to kick off the college football season for some. For others, it's 8 weeks tonight, the Backyard Brawl, Pitt, West Virginia. 9 weeks tonight, Bills and Rams to kick off the NFL season. One of the things that I fear with now a second round of realignment or third round, whichever one you want to call
The
it,
current round of realignment.
that is going to take place, we think. I mean, I guess there's always a chance that it could just be USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten in 2 years, and the Pac-12 schools decide to stay put, don't join the Big 12. And the SEC's like, well, okay, they're going to 16. We're going to be at 16 when Oklahoma and Texas join. We don't need to add anybody else. I mean, it is possible, Mark. It's just could be a whole bunch of nothing. I mean, after USC, UCLA, if you know what I mean.
Right. We already had Texas and Oklahoma. And if,
Right.
as we've talked about for a couple of days now, if Notre Dame stands pat,
Right.
do the leagues really have another round of expansion? We don't know.
So, but to me, like I was asked a question last night, do you think all of this is good for college football? Because Bill Bender, who we've had on the show a lot, hope to get him on next week. Bill Bender wrote a piece in the Sporting News yesterday in which he said everybody needs to relax. It's going to work out really well for college football. And I like Bill Bender, and I agree with Bill Bender a lot. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, I just don't see this. I'm sorry. I don't.
As I've joked, my show's continued because my son's in town. And
Right.
So I've got it. I go from Moulton to Jake when I get home, and it just continues.
Who's a better host, by the way?
You. And that's why you do this for a living, and he sells nuts and bolts to farms, and there's a reason for that. But he is a gigantic college football fan.
Yes.
And when I said to him, I gave him our poll question. He goes, I usually answer it. And I go, well, you're on vacation this week. I wasn't expecting you to get on Twitter early. And he just said, well, Big Ten. And our poll question yesterday was, where should Notre Dame go? The Big Ten, the ACC, or stay independent? And David made an incredibly strong case for why Notre Dame should join the ACC.
Right. Now, there's only 7 people that agreed with me, but
I am actually one of them, because while I think they will go to the Big Ten, and I think that that's what if they were to make a decision, that's the decision they would make. There is a part of me that understands where you're coming from. And Notre Dame, of all schools, to be the savior of college football, as far as savior of college athletics, to a lot of schools, going to the ACC would do that. And I do think that Notre Dame to the Big Ten would be the end of Bill Bender's article, because I don't know if that's the best thing for college football. It's really good for sports talk. And during the summer months, it will be great. And these alignments don't happen for a couple of more years. So we still have the debate and all of the things that we continue to talk about. But come 24, I don't know.
And my gut feeling, and goodness knows, could be wrong, but my gut feeling is that if we are really going to reshuffle the chairs on the deck here in college football over the next 2-3 years, that it is not going to be good for college football as a whole. That 25 years from now, I don't think people are going to say, we're here because of what they did in the early 2020s, and it was a great move. I don't feel that way. Could be wrong. Could be really wrong. Bill Bender says, oh, you're going to be really wrong, David. All right. Okay. But I will say this. I feel it is more important than it has ever been in college athletics, since it is only about the money right now. I mean, let's be honest. It's not college sports anymore.
No, it's professional sports.
This is-
The players are getting paid good money. I mean, they're, when quarterbacks are signing out of high school for millions of dollars, we've lost the amateurism.
Well, and when USC and UCLA are picking up the phone and calling the Big Ten and saying, we need to join, we want to join. Why? Money.
When UCLA is going broke
Yeah.
with intercollegiate athletics and they need the Big Ten to bail them out, there's a problem.
And it's literally all about the money. All about the money. I can't emphasize it enough.
What's it about, David?
All about the Benjamins. And so since that's the case, and your sport is now professional, I mean, it really is. It's professional in everything but name. Well, I don't think rivalries have ever been more important now. If you are going to keep a shred of what it is that you claim to be, a shred of what it is that has made you special to many people, then you damn well better play your rivals. And if you've got 2 or 3 rivals, we'll figure out a way to get them on the schedule. And you know what? If you have to lose an extra game a year, tough.
Well, if it's the NFL, it doesn't matter. Because to your point, David, if it's all about money, then the donut's not going to matter anymore. It's just going to be about winning your conference, and you're going to get in the playoff at some point.
I mean, we have no idea what these now conference playoffs are going to look like. We don't know if you're going to have 4 14 pods, and the key will be winning your pod. And if you do, you make it to the semis of your conference tournament. I mean, who knows what they're going to come up with. But I really believe for the fans, since it's not going to have the special feeling that it's always had. I mean, it's just not. It's professional sports. We've talked about this before. The feeling is different on Saturdays than it is on Sundays.
There are a handful of places on Sunday that have a Saturday feel to them. But it's not the other way around. There's no Saturday place that feels like Sunday. Maybe a Canes game. But you know what I mean.
And so you better play your rivals. You better give the fans the games they want to see. And so, like, we joke in a way that we're 56 days away from Pitt and West Virginia. Well, they better start playing each other every damn year. I mean, seriously. It's the one game that both fan bases want to see. Then Pitt would like to see them play Penn State. And West Virginia would probably like to see Penn State. You know, I've read many of fans' comments in the last few days of schools that are potentially going to be left out if we just have the 2 superpowers. And they're like, well, listen, if you're going to want me to care about college football still, then you got to give me the games I want to see. Like a West Virginia fan's like, listen, we want to play Pitt, Penn State, and Virginia Tech. And we're currently in the Big 12, and we don't play any of them. Those are the 3 games we want to play. I mean, honestly, don't give a damn really about the others. Those are the 3 we want to play. We tolerate the others. And if we're pretty good, oh, okay. Oh, we're pretty good this year. Great. You know, I read a letter to the editor from, a Louisville fan who's basically like, listen, I got to be honest. Give me the Kentucky game. And I don't really know if there's anything else that's going to interest me anymore. I'm probably just going to wait till basketball season. I may watch 2 games a year, that sort of deal. That's the risk that I believe a lot of the country could have with college football, in which there's going to be very few games which emotionally engage the fans going forward.
And to further your fear, David, if we go to a 2-conference, mega conference system, I don't believe that the conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten and whatever else is left, there's going to be a lot of room for non-conference games. As you keep pointing out the inventory that the television networks are going to want from these conferences. Now, they'll take rivalry games, but how many games are going to be left? We're going to go to 9 when we end up with this many teams. Are we going to have 9 conference games? Are we going to have 10 conference games? Hell, are we going to have all conference games, but one maybe preseason game that you and I have talked about, a money grab, another money grab for these schools to give them a guaranteed win in early September or late August?
Well, Mark, it all depends on how many conference games Fox and ESPN want. And how ironic, he's currently the president of FGCU, but when he was a chancellor at LSU 11 years ago, Dr. Michael Martin, in 2011, I mean, I don't even think Rutgers and Maryland made the jump to the Big Ten yet. Hell, I think it was the announcement of Missouri and A&M leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC, in which Dr. Michael Martin, 11 years ago, while chancellor at LSU, said, we're going to end up with two conferences, Fox and ESPN. 11 years ago. Now it's ironic he's president of a university that doesn't have football, but 11 years ago. I mean, that's a good quote now. How good of a quote is that in 2011? Hope he bought some lottery tickets between then and now. Want to take him to a casino, don't you?
At least.
Blackjack. I mean, he's got to know what's coming, right?
Which slot machine do you like, sir? Could you pick one, please?
Yeah, my quarters, really. You don't even have to spend your own. Just my quarters. Miller and Moulton. That could be a poll question, by the way, for the weekend. I know we have a poll question right now.
We already have one up. Holy cow.
It's about Baker Mayfield.
With the Deshaun Watson suspension looming, should the Browns have traded Baker Mayfield? Yes, it was over, or no way. Those are your two options. FL Sports Network, that Mark Miller, about to be the David Moulton on Twitter,
Right.
and FloridaSportsNetwork.com are the places where you can cast your vote on today's poll question.
I say no way. No way. Come on, they're going to need a quarterback for at least the first 8 games this year.
Yeah, you and I both thought that he should have stayed with, or that Cleveland should have figured out a way to keep him. And, well, they obviously, Baker said it at his little impromptu presser at a camp.
Right.
They're going to have to extend an olive branch, is basically what he said. And they extended a branch, all right. It's right to Carolina.
By the way, right now, over 2/3 of you say it was over. He needed to go. Huh. Okay. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Please vote in our poll question. But our poll question tomorrow, which we could just leave through the weekend, is the next round of realignment going to be good for college football, yay or nay? And leave it out there through the weekend. See, I mean, because it's sexy. We love the topic. We're sports talk radio hosts. I mean, this is gold. I mean, we could realign, every month for 20 years.
Right. But is it good for the sport? That's what we're asking you. Miller and Moulton. Frank Garcia coming up in about 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
And I get where you're coming from, fam, but at the end of the day, Oregon doesn't move the needle. If you got USC and UCLA, what does the Big Ten need Oregon for? Unless USC says we need more teams from out west.
Well, that's part of why USC did it. Here's the rub about Oregon. Phil Knight apparently wants no part of the Big 12 for Oregon. That's a problem for Oregon.
Well, you know, we haven't talked about the other thing that was out there was the talk of the ACC.
Oh yeah, no,
Big 12.
We can do that now.
We've not brought that up yet, and I think we've kind of missed that one a little bit.
Because I think it's crap, but
I do too. But we're covering this story, and it's another layer of the story. It is July the 7th.
I know.
Fam, I think it's Miami. I keep saying it. The only school out there outside of Notre Dame that moves the needle is the University of Miami.
Oh, Canes, Canes.
Now, there's moved the needle for a conference like North Carolina has intrigue for a conference because North Carolina is the most populous state that is not a member of the SEC or the Big Ten. You know, now that California is going to be a member of the Big Ten. I believe North Carolina is the 10th most populous state. So
Come back.
There's intrigue from that standpoint.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Miss any part of the show, you can go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download our podcast, download what you missed. Felipe does a great job. Pretty much right after every hour, he puts that hour at floridasportsnetwork.com so you could listen. Felipe's already had to go to the bullpen a little early. Normally he can make it to the 8 o'clock hour.
That's all he's got to do today. Mike Westhoff's going to be here.
I know.
He can sleep.
He can. I wish we had a button in studio where we could send it to break. And this way he could sleep the whole hour when Mike Westhoff joins us in studio at the top of this hour coming up. Because, he could sleep for the whole hour. Felipe went to the Marlins game to see Ohtani last night. Got back at 12:17. Which is okay unless you're producing a morning radio show and you're getting up at about 4:45. So he's dragging. He's hurting. He's already gone for 2 walks. We're an hour and a half into the show. He's gone for 2 walks already.
Make a pot of coffee, kid.
I'm on my second one right now, man.
He's
I'm trying.
But he's looking at the negatives right now of how tired he is. I just tried to tell him, I go, do you know how great your nap's going to be?
Oh,
And a power midday nap is definitely a top 10 thing in the world. It could be top 5. So look at the bright side. You saw Ohtani, and then you're going to have a power nap a little more than 12 hours later. I'm telling you, life's good, young man.
I have a confession to make. I've done something much worse than this that I did not tell you guys about in February.
Well, trust me, we could probably remember the show. It was probably the one that we had to throw things at the window twice instead of once. So that's all right.
February 22nd, I went to a Kanye West concert in Miami.
And you never told us that?
Nope.
Why? That's a big deal.
Because I came back at 3:30 a.m. and I did not sleep. And I had an hour to spare, and I said, okay, I'm going to the studio. And I took a 30-minute nap in the studio and then started running laps around the building to try to wake myself up. And by the 7 o'clock hour, I was gone.
Good for you.
But yeah, I did it, and I was committed.
Speaking of committed, there is a potential commitment between the Pac-12 and the ACC.
Right.
Did you see this story yesterday that was kind of bantied about?
I did, where they're talking about another loose relationship that worked out so well for the conferences before.
Listen, they can't call it an alliance because we know what happened to the last one. The Big Ten, 10.5 months later, took USC and UCLA away from one of the members of the alliance.
So
with alliances like that, there's no reason to have friends.
Exactly. So, talk of a loose relationship where they would have, and even having a championship game against one another in Las Vegas.
Which I have to admit, that part of it I hated. All right. I like the part in which they're talking about they're going to use each other to schedule. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You could probably create a couple of semi-interesting matchups. Great. We want to see more quote unquote Power 5 schools play other Power 5 schools, right?
Yes.
But I mean, if you're the ACC, you're going to give up the identity of your conference championship game. We're going to play the Pac-12 champion, and we're going to do so in Vegas. I mean, let's be honest. All right. Miami wins the ACC one year, and they're going to play Oregon in Vegas. How many Canes fans are going to Vegas?
Oh, see, I think they'd go because it's a big game.
Oh, they would go. Yes.
That's an event. Now,
Come on.
I think, David, you may find this nuts. I think they'd be more interested in going to Vegas for that game than they would be going to Charlotte for the ACC championship.
Absolutely. And by the way, do you know how many fans went to Charlotte in 2018? A lot. Or 2017.
It's funny that the championship, because what's happening right now? The Big Ten and the SEC are squeezing these conferences.
Maybe. I mean, neither one's talking yet about doing anything other than being a 16-team league in 2 to 3 years.
I know, but there's been talk of semifinal games that have come out. And if it's a loose relationship and loose talk, I would be having the conversations. If they start going to semifinals, do we want to have, our championship games and then another championship game?
But isn't the Pac-12 champion against the ACC champion supposed to be like a New Year's Day bowl game? I mean, isn't that what that's supposed to be? I mean, now what's the point of, going to bowls?
Well, you could end those as far as I'm concerned tomorrow.
Okay.
No, but I get what you're saying. You're 6.
But you got to remember, if we think Fox and ESPN are controlling the future of college football, well, ESPN owns well over 90% of the bowls. And by owns, meaning the broadcast rights too. Although there are about a dozen that they actually own. But so the bowls ain't going away because ESPN ain't giving up the programming. So, it's not just programming, David. It is programming that's had a built-in sponsor for a decade. And it's programming that does very well in the ratings.
Well, that's why it has a built-in, not being a smart ass, but that's why
right?
Capital One Bowl Week's been going on for a while. This works for everyone involved. They get a lot of eyeballs on this.
And by the way, speaking of which, do not badmouth going forward anymore the Big Ten for having currently 14 and soon to be 16 teams, because it's been Capital One Bowl Week for a while and it lasts 3 weeks. Okay, so if ESPN can get Bowl Week wrong, then the Big Ten can get the number of teams wrong. All right, let's cut the Big Ten a little slack.
That's fair.
Yeah, they got rid of legends and leaders a long time ago.
Right.
We're still holding that against them.
Yes, well.
We should.
It was pretty bad.
What's in your wallet?
It was pretty bad. So yeah, this whole Pac-12, ACC, whatever you do, don't call it an alliance. Relationship, understanding. Hey, let's get together and be friends with benefits in Vegas. What do you say?
And you're right. The non-conference games are terrific because we will need more of that.
There is a report that the Pac-12 may be able to keep it together after all. For one reason and one reason only. Phil Knight wants Oregon to remain in the Pac-12.
Why?
He doesn't want them to join the Big 12.
Right. Now, the Big Ten would be a different story, but I think it's obvious if the Big Ten really wanted Oregon and anyone else, well, they would have extended that offer when they extended it to USC and UCLA. So it's clear they don't want them. They may settle on them if Notre Dame joins and they feel they have to start adding other schools, 1, 2, or 3 of them to get to 18 or 30 or 20. But yes, if it's a choice between Pac-12, Big 12, the word is Phil Knight's like, no, we're going to stay the Pac-12.
Well, I'm sure it makes things easier.
Well, there's more than that. But if you're the other schools considering leaving for the Big 12, does that matter to you? Does Oregon stay? Is Oregon the best school left? And by best, you can define that any way you want.
Oregon and Washington are, to me,
more so than the Arizona schools, more so than Cal and Stanford. I'm just asking.
No. You know my soft spot for Arizona State and the potential that I think they have. But at this current moment in time, I think Oregon and Washington have it together a little more than what Arizona State does. But Arizona State for the future, to me, is where
could be a power.
It really could.
Yes. If they got their act together, they could be a BFD. No question about it. So I'm wondering if you're running Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. See, here's the thing. if I'm, Colorado wasn't crazy about going to the Pac-12 anyway. They really weren't. Now they've tried to make the best use and start recruiting California, and when they've been effective doing it, they've been good. Most of the time they haven't been, and therefore they haven't been. But Utah, even though they've got a love-hate thing, largely hate with BYU, the BYU being in the Big 12, what was it we were talking about? Rivalries. Yeah. Now, I know in theory they could keep playing one another, but I'm wondering whether or not they stay. But Phil Knight wants Oregon to stay. Frank Garcia next to talk about Baker Mayfield.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I would be a little pissed if I got sentenced 10 years in jail for some doobies. That would be a little upsetting.
Apparently, Elon Musk has got a lot of Sean Kemp in him.
And I know it's not doobies.
And God, who's the other one lately? Who's the actor? Who's
a little mad about that. Say again?
Who's the actor? Is it Nick Wright? Who's the one who's got he's producing a kid every year.
Yes.
And he's producing with 4 different women.
I think you're right on that name.
Do you have titles? I just projects actor for what? Is it Nick Kroll?
No, I don't think so. Black guy who used to be the host of America's Got Talent for a couple years.
Nick Cannon?
Nick Cannon, sorry.
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon.
What about Nick Cannon?
Nick Cannon's producing a kid
just said that Elon Musk has got a lot of Sean Kemp in him.
Right. Because Sean Kemp,
the former NBAer who had kids with 47 different women. And Elon Musk just fathered twins with one of his company's executives, and he's got a bunch of kids from a bunch of women.
And you got to remember, and he's got a kid that popped out a month ago. So he's had three of his kids be born in the last 60 days.
And his one kid who's 18 just disowned him.
Oh, nice.
Now think about that. No. You disown your dad, who's Elon Musk. I mean, for the inheritance alone, wouldn't you keep that relationship going?
All right, you got to do me a favor. You got to get the Golf Channel on here.
Yeah.
We can flip back and forth because Wimbledon's more important. I just want to see I'm curious to see if they're going to cover any of the.
Well, none of them are in it. It's a Scottish
Poulter's in
Open.
it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Poulter and the South African and the Spaniard. You're right.
So
now they could already.
It's already over. Forget it.
Crap.
They're already done with their coverage. No big deal.
Is there a last button here? I can just go 206.
Yeah, Cromartie, I believe, was the one.
Cromartie, yeah,
Had
he's
like
the most
9
recent.
kids with 7 women.
And couldn't remember all their names on Hard Knocks.
Right.
And got really upset about it.
It's a little scary how much power Elon Musk has. Just a little bit. Just gotta keep an eye on him, just in case he goes rogue for the world.
Oh, thanks, Heidi, or Heidi's dad. Also apparently on ESPN Plus.
Oh, well, of course it is. What in the hell is this commercial? And I love it. Oh my God.
No, Yinzer, that's not the reason we don't take calls is because we're on in 4 markets and we don't have a
Phone number.
phone number that, and we
They don't have an 800 number.
Right. And we don't want to give out a local area code because it's
kind of jerkish.
It's not a good look also.
Yes.
So that's why we don't take calls. When we get like a 1-888 Florida number, we will gladly take calls. And in our second act, we didn't take calls because technologically we couldn't. It wasn't our doing either.
One day we'll have a real studio, maybe.
That's the hope. It really is.
Yeah, I got you, Paul, but it doesn't sound right. Find me a national show that their phone number is an area code. Find me one, Paul.
Yeah, none. There's
and also we can't take more than one. I'm telling you, if it worked, we would do it. Okay. I mean, you should know us by now. This is not vanity or anything like that. This is technological.
It's a little bit by me.
Yeah, but we got to bring my grandma on the show one day. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You got to call Frank Garcia.
Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, 22 minutes before Mike Westhoff in studio for however long he's willing to tell stories. He's authored a book, Figure It Out. Mike Westhoff to join us in studio for a good chunk, if not all, of the 8 o'clock hour on what is turning into a football Thursday. Unbelievable. You're on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Speaking of which, floridasportsnetwork.com, that's where our poll question is.
And the question is, with Deshaun Watson suspension looming, should the Browns have traded Baker Mayfield? And 2/3 of you say yes, in a strong vote early.
Miller and Moulton, I believe, are on the no side,
Absolutely.
Right? Because we think that you're going to end up with Jacoby Brissett for a good chunk of your season, unless you trade for Jimmy G. But Baker Mayfield traded to the Carolina Panthers. Frank Garcia played for the Panthers, and he hosts sports talk radio shows at WFNZ in Charlotte. You can follow Frank on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65, Frank Garcia _65. Frank, it's David and Mark once again. How you been?
I've been doing well, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Well, it is our pleasure. So, what'd you think?
I guess there's some optimism. I'm not overly optimistic. I think they're about, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, about the same player. You look at their interceptions and, what they've done in the last couple of years, Baker coming off the injury. But at least I think there's some excitement and enthusiasm with the moxie that Baker Mayfield brings. And, at least a name that I think people can get excited about if you're a Panthers fan.
Frank, do you think this is going to be a true flat-out quarterback competition for the Panthers this year?
No, I think Mayfield is when you trade for a guy like that. I think they know who Darnold is. It's kind of like when you've seen that guy over and over, you start looking at all the warts that he has and all the deficiencies that he has and all the bad things that they can do, and that's kind of what they've seen with Darnold. And then you bring in that new toy, and you're excited to play with it and see what it has. So I think that Mayfield's going to get the nod. I do think he has a little bit more ability and some moxie, and I think that's the reason why he's here.
Frank, I mean, you're a smarter observer than most people that we could talk to about this. They went 2-12 in their last 14, but McCaffrey missed most of it. The offensive line play was not good enough. How much of the blame, if you will, on their 2-12 final 14 do you put on the personnel around Darnold versus putting it on Darnold?
I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, it's not one guy that's going to be the demise unless he's the one that is going out there and hurting the team and his decision making and those type of things. And sometimes when you're put in those situations, you try to press. Darnold's always been in that situation, whether it's been with the Jets or even with the Panthers, not having the weapons around him. But you surround him with McCaffrey, surround him, with his playmakers. He's pretty efficient. He makes good decisions, right reads when all things are clicking. But that's not the NFL. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be turbulence. There's going to be times when you have injuries, and you're going to have to be able to overcome that. I don't think anybody expects either one of these two quarterbacks, Mayfield, or Darnold to go out there and win games by himself. We've seen that. And there's guys that are capable of that. Cam was that guy, but they need a surrounding supporting cast. They need a good offensive line around him. They need playmakers around him, and all they have to do is distribute the ball and manage the game. I know that gets overplayed a lot, but managing the game is extremely valuable, and that's what you have to do when you have talent around you, and that's what both of these guys need is talent around them.
Well, they made some additions on the offensive line. What's your assessment of the moves they made in the offseason, specifically when it comes to the offensive line? How much better should that unit be? Because whoever plays quarterback, and obviously I think we all think it's going to be Mayfield, you're going to need protection, and it seems that Carolina did a decent job in the offseason of trying to improve upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely more talent, on the offensive line. I think you have some established players. The thing is going to be continuity that they're going to have to work on, and being able to gel as a unit. A lot of times you walk up to the offensive line, especially in hostile environments, you're having to communicate, and sometimes that communication might be a grunt, it might be a tap on the butt, it might be a signal, whatever it is that. Guys next to each other that have worked together for a couple of years are going to be able to develop versus, guys that are being thrown out there for the first time. So I think there's going to be some growing pains with this offensive line. They're going to have to work on the communication. That's going to be incumbent upon the coach, their position coach to get them on the same page. And then the players putting in the time in the film room and on the field together, as a unit working together. So, I think there's a lot of potential, and I think that's the positive side that you look at when you look at this offensive line.
He's Frank Garcia, former lineman in the NFL, much of it with the Carolina Panthers. He's been doing sports talk radio in Charlotte for quite a while on WFNZ, and he's kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. You can follow Frank on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65, Frank Garcia _65. We were just talking about this a segment or two ago. This is the time of year where everybody puts out their lists. One of the lists that is making hay this week is ranking rosters. When you look at the Panthers roster, what do you think?
I think it's improved with potential. This is assuming everybody's healthy. But if you look at the offense, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrence Mathis Jr., and you throw in whoever the tight end is going to be when everything's said and done. It's an average unit. as far as the NFL standards go. Defensively, I would think you say the same thing. Burns on the outside, J.C. Horn as a corner. I think he has a lot of upside and potential. Shaq had a good year last year, but there's not really any dominant standouts on the interior other than maybe Burns, who is a sack specialist. I mean, but he's going to have to get better playing the run. So when you look at the roster as a whole, I would probably, put it around the 18 to 25 range.
And Frank, as you talked about with the offensive line, and I think that, I could ask a million questions on that, but when you talk about the continuity and the communication, do you think, how much harder is it, I guess, with the lack of contact in practices now to develop that continuity? You kept saying it's going to take them a while into the season. Is that just because of the lack of contact and how practices are in preseason now, that it's tougher to get that done?
Absolutely. I mean, every coach that is coaching right now has a difficulty and a challenge because they get 20 hours, together. Everything is monitored. And, same thing in college. Teaching that position, it takes time. There's a lot of science to, being effective and efficient as an offensive unit. I think guys are working out and doing things more on their own. But again, when you start building continuity, you have to, you have to have the push and the pull. You have to know where the guy next to you is going to be and, what spacing you're going to have and what steps he's going to take and how to pass off stunts and those types of things. And, it's easy to go out there and count numbers and know who to block. But, the art of going out there and doing it in a unit in sync is going to be the challenge. And that's where you see really good offensive lines gel. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for a lot of teams is lack of time, that they've had, on the field with the ability to do that.
Frank, how long does a coach have until he loses a team if they're not winning? Because obviously Matt Rule's 2 years. Well, we knew the first year was going to be rough. But last year after a 3-0 start ended very disappointingly. Frank, how long does he have now with this group before the guys just start looking at one another going, yeah, this ain't working?
Well, it depends how strong the leadership is in that locker room. And, when you have guys like Robbie Anderson saying, don't bring Baker Mayfield, to the team, and here comes Baker Mayfield. He publicly states that last year, and then here comes Baker Mayfield. If he's expected to be one of the leaders on the offensive unit, and he's displeased with Mayfield, coming here, then there's going to be already that turmoil. And, who's the leaders of the team? And that's probably one of the biggest question marks that I have going forward with this. I mean, you can parade guys out there, Christian McCaffrey, but he's hurt 90% of the time. You can parade guys out there, Taylor Moulton, and he's quiet. He doesn't say a whole lot. So, typically when you have strong teams and you have Super Bowl challenging contending teams, you have great leadership, and those are the bell cows that are going to, be the best players, the hardest workers, the guys that get everybody around them rallied and ready to go Monday through Saturday, getting ready for that Sunday. That's where you win games, and that's where the challenge is going to be. I don't know who the leadership is on this unit, on this team, and the talking, from guys like Robbie Anderson doesn't help because you going out there and catching the ball does. And when guys start doing that more effectively and efficiently, then you might have a say and a voice in what's going on.
Frank, final question. With everything that's gone on in college sports in the last week, you grew up in Arizona, you went to college at Washington, now here you are, played professionally and relocated into North Carolina. Obviously, you know where I'm going here. Future of the ACC, future of the Pac-12. Just curious your thoughts, because really most of your life has been in either Pac-12 or ACC country. Just your thoughts on where we are right now and how big of a deal this would be if Oregon, Washington, the Arizona schools went to the Big 12.
Well, I think it's inevitable with these 4 super conferences that I think that everybody's kind of gearing up for with TV deals, and that's what it comes down to. It comes down to money and dollars, for these programs. The cost of expenses going up, and everybody having to kind of run out these programs and build these programs and compete against these multi-million-dollar programs that are winning, like Alabama, like Georgia. These schools in the SEC that are just dominating because they're getting the lion's share of the money from these bowl games and these national championships going to these conferences. You have to team up with that, either get on board or, be, at large. And, I think right now you're looking at probably 4 super conferences, and, they're going to divide the country in quarters, and, let's go play ball. They're going to roll it out there and see who the best team is.
Frank Garcia, WFNZ in Charlotte. Follow him on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65. Frank Garcia _65. Frank, all the best to you and the family. Hopefully we can talk early in the year.
You got it, guys. Anytime. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. We'll do it again.
Frank Garcia, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Think about that. Born and raised in Arizona, went to college at Washington, and then you play the majority of your NFL career, the guts of it, 6 of his 9 full seasons you played in Carolina, obviously stayed there after his career was over and has worked there professionally. So his childhood was Pac-12 and his adulthood is ACC.
Right, and Charlotte right there is kind of divided between UNC fans and Clemson fans, really close to Clemson, South Carolina as well.
And is also rumored to become the new home of the ACC. That it's been rumored for a while they're going to move from Greensboro to Charlotte.
Don't know how they don't stay in Greensboro. Such a lovely town.
Well, I will say, what would the irony be? We've decided to move to Charlotte and then half the conference leaves. That would be awkward.
Would be really awkward if they moved to Las Vegas. That might tell their hand completely, David.
Miller and Moulton. Mike Westhoff will join us in studio at the top of the hour. He's already here. He's keeping Felipe awake on the other side.
Felipe needed that.
Oh, but did he ever? Thank you, Coach, for showing up early.
Might have to put Felipe through a couple of drills during the commercial breaks to keep him awake after a trip last night to see the Angels and Marlins on the other coast and watch Ohtani pitch and get a hit, knock in 2 runs.
And steal a base. Unbelievable. 18,741 at the Marlins game yesterday. It was 5,400 more than the night before. All right. And that's about right. I think Ohtani worth 5,000 tickets a game.
I would have thought he was worth a little bit more, but we thought the series was worth a little bit more. But, I said it's an event. The Ohtani part was an event. The Angels are so bad right now. That's so bad. They're like 17, 16 games beneath 500, and they were up.
Well, that's what they've been since they started 20-10. I think they're like 7, 8 games below 500, but since they were 20-10, they've been terrible. As bad as any team in the American League. With Trout and Ohtani. And they're still just a grease fire. But remember, we were talking about what is it Ohtani's going to get out in the free agent market. We wondered from a ticket standpoint, what's he worth? Well, he showed last night he's worth 5,400 tickets. That's 30
in Miami.
Right. 30, 32 starts a year. Do the math. If the guy's worth almost 200,000 tickets sold for you.
A lot of Ohtani jerseys last night, by the way.
There you go. Which is real easy to see because there's not a lot of Marlins jerseys in the crowd at a Marlins game. Mike Westhoff in studio. Football stories next.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Greatest. I had one the other day. I'm reeling in, and I think, I got something on. And I look up about 20 yards from me. I see a 12-foot bull shark, and I think I've got him. And I'm fighting everywhere. I'm telling my girlfriend, get the cameras. I'm really excited. And it kind of goes away. And a little bit later, maybe 5 minutes, I pop it up. It's a 4-foot black tip. The big bull shark was chasing him.
Oh, wow.
I thought I had him on. I didn't have him on. He didn't get the little guy he was after. It's just fun. I do it for fun. And I don't like to go way out. I go up in the passes.
Right.
So I'm in 12 feet of water, 300 yards from the
That's what
beach.
people have no clue about.
No clue. None.
So when I moved down here, I started the hockey team. That's why I moved here.
Right.
And we had all these people vying for our advertising business because I was a director of marketing as well as the play-by-play guy. And so this guy wants to be our advertising agency. And he's like, you ever been up in a small plane? And I'm like, no. He goes, would you like to go up? Hell yeah, I'd like to go up in a small plane. He takes me for just a little buzz. We leave Page Field. It took me, a 20, 30-minute ride in the plane. When you're flying at 1,000 feet over the Gulf, what you can see down in that water
Unbelievable.
is startling.
Yep. That's what I've heard. I've heard people talk about that. I have pictures of what I've actually caught. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've got some monsters. I haven't got too many real big ones in this year. They're beating me. They have me. I don't have them. They're laughing at me. It's just, I do it for fun. It's just fun. And people love to go because, you're not out beating the waves. If the storm comes up, I can get home in a couple of minutes. I'm not dangerous. It's not like the way out. You got to be careful down here. I have a 22-foot center console boat. I don't have the Queen Mary. I'm not going way out. And so I don't have to worry about it. I can go to lunch, and it's really fun. Though this is the best time of the year. All my buddies come down now.
A couple quick questions.
Sure.
Books figured out.
Yes.
All right. Where can they get it?
It's coming out July 12th, anywhere. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, you name it, anywhere. It's out right now through the publisher, which is Mascot, MASCOT, Mascot Books, and they'll deliver it right to your door. So you can get it today by calling. They are.
Let me see what their
So
website.
Tuesday.
Mascotbooks.com.
That comes out Tuesday.
Comes out Tuesday, yes, anywhere. Although they're out of hard copies, they had to reprint. So now they have got it's called a paper, soft. It's not a paperback, it's a soft cover. It's a little bit different. It's just been fun. I've done pretty well with it. People have actually enjoyed the book. I've gotten good feedback. I like it. I'm proud of it. I like the fact that we interviewed. I think that's the key. It's just not how you hear me tell the story. You're hearing me tell it, then you're hearing Zach Thomas tell it. That's what I think. It makes it a little bit different.
There's a bit, I'll ask you about it, but there's a bit of a movement to get him in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Like people are starting to now go, okay, fine. You've passed him over. Now we need
For
to
Zach?
start. Yeah. Now we need to start comparing them to Hall of Famers. And
Well, you put him next to Urlacher, and that's the one that
bingo.
His
And-
numbers next to Urlacher's are
And you just
damn near identical.
and so
I take him in a minute. Here's the other thing. He's the boss of what was one of the really top defenses in the NFL. They were always ranked in the top 1, 2, 3.
30 seconds.
Of course, you had Madison and Surtain, you had Jason Taylor, you had Trace
Right.
Armstrong.
Yep.
I mean, that was a good
it
team.
was,
Right.
No doubt.
I mean, that defense that's the job I wanted. I wanted to be the head coach of that team. I mean, that's the one I wanted because I knew.
Is that when your buddy got it?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Now remember, people can hear you right now.
I swear,
So.
I'm not going to say anything.
All
No, sir.
right, good
You're
deal.
not
10 seconds.
kidding me. I'm not going to
Good
do
deal.
it.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Joined by Mike Westhoff in studio, a longtime NFL coach. You can follow him on Twitter at STCoachMike, STCoachMike. He's authored the book Figure It Out, widespread release on Tuesday the 12th. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, you name it. It's available now at mascotbooks.com, mascotbooks.com. Mike Westhoff. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's different being here than driving around listening to you, which I've been doing for a long time, to tell you the truth.
Well, and you've been now pumping this book. First off, we've had you on since you had written the book. We talked a little bit about it,
Right.
but since then you've started your PR tour. How has that been going? I mean, you're a great interview. We've had on the show a million times, so we know how you do. How have you been doing with all the publicity promoting your book?
It's been a real challenge. What I've learned more than anything is how gigantic social media is, and believe me, I was at the tail end of that knowledge. And I hired a gal that wanted to work for me. She made me an incredible offer. She had worked her whole life in advertising. She was good friends with the girl that does my finances with Merrill Lynch. They came to me and said that she read the book. She said, I can help you. She said, I'm really good at social media. She said, I can push a button and thousands of people will know. She said, I'm willing to bet you can't find the button. she made me an offer of a book. I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell you what it is. She said to me, I believe in what you wrote. She said, and I'll bet on myself. She said, I want 10 cents a book. I said, well, thank you. And I did it. And so, she's just been tremendous. I talked with her and her husband. She's retired. And so she's helped me. And she's opened this door to which I did not know existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
There's a bunch of yahoos like us out there, Mike.
They all want to be you guys. They're not, they want to be you. That's the truth.
Well, and with the internet, with the podcast, and obviously, between Miami and New York, those are pretty good markets.
Oh my goodness.
To be distributed a book into.
I've done them all over. And they'll get on, they'll ask me, and some are better than others. Believe me, some are better than others. But some ask some really good questions. They'll take me into places that I hadn't thought about before, and they do it in a nice way. I've enjoyed it. I've not had an awkward moment. They've not asked me something that I was embarrassed to add. They didn't try to put me on the spot. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun. It's an eye-opening experience.
Book's called Figure It Out, widespread release on Tuesday the 12th. It's available right now, mascotbooks.com, and they will send it right to you. Curious about, during the process of the book, did you find yourself talking about something or remembering something that you hadn't talked about, remembered in a long time, which ended up making it in the book? And afterwards you realized, wow, I guess this was a bigger deal than I always thought it was.
That's a good question. And yes, I did. It did happen that way. Sometimes I would get going and I would write it. I wrote every word and I wrote it by hand. I started off getting a guy to help me with a computer where I could talk into the computer. What I learned was for every 10 words, 2 of them were messed up. two, I had no hope.
That's not bad. We would take that ratio, by the way, on this show. 80% for us, that'd be a B+.
So I just said, I'm going to write it. So I would start writing. I did it during the pandemic, the whole time. So it took me almost 2.5 years. And I would just not every day, I'd go fishing. If I didn't go fishing, I wrote. I'd write from about 7 in the morning to 11. I could concentrate. Then I had to look things up on a computer to make sure when I was going to do something, I had to have the right numbers and statistics, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'd get into something and it opened up another thought process, which is what you're asking. It's just all of a sudden I'd go, well, wait a minute. Wow. And then that triggered me to keep moving in another direction. So it really did. It was a challenge, but a fun challenge, because the more I looked at it, and then I have all these film things. I have these highlight films I put together. In fact, when we do our little thing coming up here, the launch, we're going to show some of this. I was watching one last night just for a few minutes. It's 3 minutes. I went, like, we were really good. These guys were good. We were tough, and we were fun to be around.
Who's the we?
The team that I was coaching.
Right.
All the teams, my special teams guys.
But which highlight was this?
Oh,
the one I had on last night was with the Jets. I had 1 year, 206, 1 year. It knocked my socks off just watching it again, because the things that we did.
That was Eric Mangini's first year, right? With the Jets, 06?
Eric, let's see. Herm was there
through 05. Mangini's first year was 06.
It was after his first year.
Okay, so 07.
That's when it was. Yes,
Gotcha.
That's correct. That's when I was looking at this film. But it was just, I had this good group of guys. They were just good players. I had Justin Miller was a return guy. Santana Moss was doing punts at the time, and I had all those kind of guys. It just was a good group, and we were just good. We were good. We did it well. We helped contribute to the win, and it was a lot of fun. So the more I got into that, the more I enjoyed it.
What advice would you give a young NFL player? My son's in town, and one of the kids he played high school football with is going into his second year with the Chargers, and he's a running back, which means he's a special teams guy.
Correct.
What advice would you give someone like that right now?
Okay. Number one, in this day and age, because it's changed, I had a number of first-year head coaches call me. And they said, Mike, if you were coaching special teams today, how would you configure your roster? Because it's different. You don't have the plays. You don't have the number of variables. You just don't have them.
You used to keep guys specifically for special teams
Tough to do today.
A generation ago.
Correct. Yes, it's difficult to do today. You can't do it. I would tell that young man to make sure, number one, that he had his running back role established, that he was contributing there viably. And then the few plays he might have on special teams, it might be 3 or 4 plays, 5 plays, but be good at it. Be special. That's the key. I'll give you the number. My first 30 years in National Football League, my first 30 years. Okay, not counting PATs and field goals, not whether you kick them or defend them. I averaged 22 plays a game, 22. All right. My years with the New Orleans Saints, 7. I went from 22 to 7. Now, I'm not counting the kickoff for a touchback. I'm 74. I can run down on that today. Give me a break. And I could get that. 3 of us could get down there. We'd be ugly, but we could get down.
I don't know. It better go through the back of the end zone, because if they see the 3 of us running down 8 yards deep, they're catching it and running.
Out. But it's just so different. You don't have the variables. And so also the game's different. Today they play fast break football. That's why I was talking to one of the coaches from the Giants, a friend of mine. I love their number 1 draft pick, the outside linebacker from Oregon. Now, this isn't Lawrence Taylor, but his first 2 steps, he's going to get to the quarterback. And that is the game today. You have to know how the game's being played. And for that young man, the special teams are an integral part of it, but it's a smaller part. It's smaller, and you got to handle that. Now, as coaches, they brought me up to the combine this year. One of the coaches did, a friend of mine, Joe DeCamellis, who's the coordinator with the Rams. And Joe brought me up and I talked to the NFL special teams coaches. They had dinner. And I let them know that this seat they were sitting in when I started in 1982 wasn't there. They weren't coordinators. I helped develop it. I'm a little bit cocky. I think I did develop it. That's just me. But nonetheless, and I said to them, there's a kind of a time when an NFL owner is going to walk into that head coach and he's going to say, why am I paying this guy $1 million a year when he's coaching less than 10 plays? I said, and you better have an answer.
What's the answer?
Well, the answer is you got to find a way to make the play safe and to keep it alive. I wrote a whole chapter. It's some different ideas as to how to do that very thing. How to keep things going a little bit. There are things that are going to change. The safety rules have knocked a lot out of it. I mean, Roger Goodell was teasing me. He was kidding me about it at a thing. And he said, Mike, you're the last one that could complain. He said, we changed half of these rules because of you. He said, stuff that you did. So you were killing guys. And safely, though. I mean, legally, not crazy. I don't teach that junk. But go ahead.
How much longer do you think the kickoff return stays in the game?
No, it's nearly out anyway.
Well,
now.
I understand, but it's still in.
It's a good.
Belichick brought it up a half dozen years ago, which is like, listen, if you're going to start doing this crap, just take it out.
Put the ball down.
Right.
Put it down. It's hard to say how much longer. I just believe you. I mean, I'm fighting to keep it alive because I love the play. I know what it did for us. I mean, my first 10 years with the New York Jets. I mean, we're in the playoffs 60% of the time, and I know every year we helped that football team get in. I had 9 different guys that led the National Football League in returns when I was with the Jets. 9. Nobody's done that. Nobody will ever do it anymore because you don't have any plays. So it was fun, and I knew we were good. And I remember we used to go up to New England, and I thought, well, I know these guys are going to score now, but they got to kick off to Leon Washington, and we're coming right back at you, and we're going to get ourselves back in the game. And it was so much fun to do and such an integral part. But as it's changed, you as a coach have to be able to adjust. You have to figure it out.
He's Mike Westhoff. If you have questions for the coach, you can text them to us. The text number is 21,000. The keyword is FSN Radio. FSN Radio to 21,000. If you have a question for the coach, feel free to text it in. We have Coach in all hour in studio to talk about his book and answer your questions.
And we had one sent in via our Twitch chat room. Non-kicker, best special teamer you ever coached. We got 2 minutes left in the segment.
Okay, that's non-kicker.
Non-kicker.
Okay, because you're looking at return guys, which I picked O.J. McDuffie. I picked an all-star team in my book. The thing that I thought this is the best all-star team that's ever been picked, and they all played for me. So it's hard to keep Steve Tasker off any all-star team, but these guys all played for me. So you've got, I had O.J. McDuffie and Santana Moss, which were just tremendous guys for me as return guys. But as just a regular guy, it's hard not that there's several that were really good. Larry Izzo, obviously, that went to Patriots. And, here's a guy that our scouts told me, Mike, don't even go. Why are you going out to Rice to look at him? He said, the Canadian League turned him down. I said, I don't care what the Canadian League does. I can beat the heck out of them on any given day. I said, so I'm going to go look at this kid. He played 13 years. He went to, I think, 3 or 4 Pro Bowls. He has, 4 or 5 Super Bowl rings now. Come on. Now he's the coordinator up at the Rams. I just talked to him yesterday, as a matter of fact. Anyway, he has to be one. And Bernie Parmalee one of my all-time favorites. I mean, it's an incredible story in the book about how we had released him. We cut him. I actually brought him back. Coach Shula was going to kill me. I thought he was going to fire me. But it worked out. I took a chance. And he had a 9-year career. So those are 2 of the guys I'd have to pick. I would take those 2 guys.
Well, during the break in our Twitch chat room, we're going to ask Mike Westhoff how it is he overrode Coach Shula.
No, I didn't override.
Back. Okay. So
I'm going to tell you, though. I'll tell you.
All right. Mike Westhoff, the book is Figure It Out. Figure It Out, widespread release on Tuesday the 12th. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, you name it, wherever you buy a book these days. Tuesday the 12th, Figure It Out. It's available right now, mascotbooks.com, mascotbooks.com. See, you should do these shows more often. We already got people in our Twitch chat room saying they're ordering the book just based on that first segment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think they'll enjoy it. I promise you they're going to enjoy it.
There's no doubt the stories have stories. He's Mike Westhoff, and he's in studio with Miller and Moulton taking your questions on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com.
If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
He gets in trouble, so I knew I had a chance. Okay. So he's hiding in the back. I told him the first period is my period. I said, I'm going to make it live at the end. So you got to show me. So right at the end, I said, I told everybody to get off the field. I said, I want this live. Coach Shula looked at me and said, Mike, I said, Coach, just give me one shot here. I want to check something. He said, all right. So Bernie's playing left tackle, his spot. Don doesn't even, I'm coaching it. He's just watching. I told Reggie Roby, I said, Reggie, bust one down the middle. Give me a line drive. He said, okay, I'll do it for you. It sounded like a train wreck. Bernie Parmalee hit this kid and tackled him. And now I'm screaming. I'm the happiest guy in town. I'm yelling. That's what I'm talking about. Coach Shula, can't say exactly what he said. Whoa, Mike. What saved me, what saved my job, Carl Tassif came running up, screaming at me. Mike, we cut this guy, da-da-da. And Coach Shula got mad at him. And he said, Carl, maybe you ought to give the kid a chance. And he looked at me and said, I'll talk to you after practice. This is my heart. Listen, I'm 40 years old. It's my heart.
Right.
We put him on the practice squad. We brought him back during the season. He played 9 years. I loved it. This is my favorite.
He was a good versatile back too.
Oh, sure he was.
He could do everything.
Darn
He
right
pick
he
up the
was.
blitzers. He could catch the ball. Was a good enough runner.
That's right.
Yeah.
He had a good career. He's
Yeah.
still coaching. He's the running back coach of Jacksonville.
That's awesome.
That's football. That's what I love.
You may know this, but somebody texted. He says OJ McDuffie is from a very small school in Ohio. Scored all 35 points in a 35-7 win in the state finals. Kicked the extra points too.
He's my guy. He's my buddy. He's coming. He's coming to that.
Is he?
Yeah, he's going to. I told me. Well, I hope I can get it, making sure it works out. But he said he would. I love him. He was my favorite. Oh, was he tough? Oh, was he tough? They changed one of the rules because of him. Used to be on a punt. You couldn't signal for fair catch, but he would look like he was going to catch it back by the 10. And he'd go over like he was going to catch it. And the guy would come down and look up.
You think about who his two coaches were. There were Paterno and Shula.
That's right.
Were his two coaches.
That's correct. Don't bring up Jimmy Johnson.
Oh,
You don't want to bring up him, Dozier.
so he made it.
Ooh,
Did he make it all? Oh, yeah.
You better get some
That's
earmuffs
right.
on.
Really?
No, you don't like him.
Well, I mean, they stopped throwing the ball.
No, wait a minute. He had this. That's when he had that turf toe, and the way it was treated ended his career. He led the NFL in receptions that year. That was the end of his career. Woo, that was ugly. That did not go well. I left that out of the book. I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. That's not my affair. I just loved the kid. He was tough. He was fun. Be around. I still like talking to him. He does a podcast thing now. They have a thing.
That's the hardest thing we've been doing this a while, so we've got our job. But if you're young and doing this, every other athlete's doing a podcast.
Yes.
I mean, and their distribution's so much better than anything. If you're an unknown, I don't know how you break in right now.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I get it. But that's the guy. Guy asked that question. Those are, and of course, I was with the Jets. You had Brad Smith and Eric Smith and guys like that were Kenyatta Wright. Guys are tough. They were fun. I had a ball. And with the Saints, man, you got to count Taysom Hill. He's one of the best special teams guys I ever had. And I love that story because he had never put on a uniform. He put it on with me. I'm walking through the locker room. I see this guy looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I said, who the heck's this guy? My first, they said he said never dressed. He's a quarterback, never. I said, well, wait. I went up to see Sean Payton. I said, tell me about him. Fine, he ran 4.4. I said, 230 pounds. Let me take a look. I've had some luck with quarterbacks. Jim Jensen, guys like that. Eric Smith. Pardon, Crash. Yeah, Crash. I just talked to him the other day. Anyway, so I give this kid a chance. You got to read it. I mean, it's the coolest. Because then now you're hearing the coach from Carolina talk about it, not just me. He said, I look out there, see number 7.
30 seconds.
Who the hell's number 7? Then he runs down the field. He runs right through my 2 best blockers. He kills the guy on the 15-yard line. Oh, way to go, Mike. Thanks a lot. That was the business.
We got 10 seconds. Crash we had an arena team here, AF2 team.
Mm-hmm.
He was the very first head coach.
Crash was
here.
He was fun. So he could do everything. He could kick, he could hold, he could punt, he could snap.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
In studio with Mike Westhoff, longtime assistant coach in the NFL, has authored a book called Figure It Out. Figure It Out, widespread release Tuesday, the 12th. You can order it now, Amazon.com, mascotbooks.com. You can order it, and the publisher will send it to you directly, but you'll be able to get it Target, Barnes & Noble, wherever it is you buy books. Tuesday, widespread distribution. Mike Westhoff's book, Figure It Out.
If you want to text the coach a question, you can text the number 21,000. The keyword is FSN Radio. If you've never done so before, FSN Radio to 21,000 to text your questions to Coach Mike Westhoff. He'll be in all hour taking your questions and ours as well as we talk about his book, Figure It Out.
Some listeners in our Twitch chat room had just mentioned certain players that they know you've worked with in your career, going all the way back early days Dolphins, Jim Jensen. Crash, right. Did you give him that nickname?
No.
How did he get that?
No, he had that when I got there because he just created a Crash. I mean, he was a tough guy. He could, he was so talented, physically talented guy, Boston University quarterback. He could play quarterback. He was a wide receiver. He could play tight end.
Was he Taysom Hill before Taysom Hill?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Very similar talents, both of them. Both could snap. Both could punt. Both could kick field goals or PATs. Both could hold. They could do all those things. He could do it all. Jim Jensen. I mean, he was the first guy that I saw as the multi-talented, hybrid type player. And then Taysom Hill has taken that almost to a new level. Taysom does it all.
Is he the best special teamer that you've ever? I mean, where do you put him? He's got to be on your
Hill?
Yeah,
one of the very best. Absolutely. I picked an all-star team, and I would have him. He could start on every single one of those teams. He could start on your field goal block team. He could start on he could start on your field goal team. He could be a wing. He start on your punt team, your punt return, your kickoff, your kick. He'd do it all. Play it all, and be a return guy. He returned punts. He returned kicks for me. He did it all.
Tebow's been brought up. Is that what his role should have been? Because obviously he gets drafted in the first round as a quarterback, but now, upon further review, when you look at him and athletically and what it is he brought to the table, is that what he should have been?
Yes.
Jim Jensen, Taysom Hill type player?
Yes, to a degree, because he didn't have all of those other qualities. He wasn't the guy that would run down the field and make the tackle on the kickoff.
But he was never asked.
He was never asked. No, I used him on my punt team as a personal protector. He got into those roles. I didn't see that from him. I never did. I never saw that real physical. When you give him the ball, he could run with it. It was very physical, but he didn't block anybody. I had him on a punt team. He had to block one time. One of my few punt blocks I saw. I'm still not very happy with him. To this day, I don't forgive him.
I was going to say,
well, there weren't that many, right?
No,
I mean, you could probably count all the times you've had a punt block to get.
Yeah. Well, Mike, listen, there are many reasons why the three of us get along. All three of us can hold a grudge really well. Okay, it's another thing that we have in common. A great question sent in the Twitch chat room. Was there a team or a special teams coach that you would walk into the stadium and go, oh, man, this is going to be tough. This guy's good?
No, tell you the truth, no. But there's teams I really respected. I respect Joe DeCamillis, even though I had really good games against him. Dave Tobe, that's at Kansas City, was it with the Bears, and he had Devin Hester. I think he does a very good job. Some guys back when I actually Bruce DeHaven was a very good coach, and God rest his soul. He was a good man. And up at Buffalo, he was very kind of simple. He wasn't very dynamic in some of the things he did, but he's a guy that got out ahead of me more times than maybe anyone else ever did. Especially when he was up at Buffalo, I think I matched him up very well, even though he had Steve Tasker and he had some of those guys. Never a great return guys. He actually kept all my returns and had a good year with it at Buffalo once. But there's a couple of guys like that that did a very good job. But those two that I mentioned, I think, were maybe some of the best. But nobody scared me. Nobody did.
You mentioned in the book that Sean Payton gave you the green light.
Yes.
When you wanted to call a fake, it was on you. How did you earn that with Coach Shula? It's one thing when you're in the latter part of your coaching career and you have this great resume. But how did you earn that with Coach Shula in your first jobs to get him to trust you to run, plays that change the outcome of football games?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Nobody really asked me that before. With Coach Shula, to tell you the truth, in that regard, I never did. I did not have a total green light to run fakes and things with Don. But with him, we always discussed that. Even punt blocks, we would discuss it. He would let me, I'd say, Coach, let's run it here. Yeah, go ahead. That type of thing. With Sean, he called all the plays, as did Coach Shula, though. And I used to talk with him about it. I said, when you're calling that third down play, you're looking for a realm of success. I'm looking for a realm of failure. Because if you're trying to make that thing work. I know that if it doesn't work, this is perfect for me, depending on what I see, to run this fake. Is it the right spot or not? I know that. You don't know that. I have to come and give it to you and tell you. I don't have time. I've got this much time. If this is it, I know that we're going to, I know we went up and played Baltimore one year when I was at the Saints, and with Drew Brees, but Baltimore was good on defense and they were a good matchup. I knew it would be a low scoring game. That if the right situation comes along, I know I can get this fake punt. I know I can run it. I've got the perfect one, but it has to be this situation. Now I'll call it. If it's not there, Taysom Hill will check us out of it and we'll punt the ball. So
was it an audible from you on the sidelines, Mike? So, we all know Omaha, everybody in the world knows here but did you call it going into the play and
Absolutely.
It was on the punter to see the look?
No, not the punter, the personal protector. The punter was ready to punt the football. He was ready to punt the ball. And so I would call it. I had names for everything. Usually it was, to tell you the truth, it was Shark. That was the name. So we were going to run the Shark. Now, what we were doing, we were going to shift the line. We were going to put a wing up on the ball and then the gunner or flyer back off. Okay. And then we were going to bring that flyer, I called him, in motion. Now, I knew as soon as Taysom Hill would take his hand and reach out and look at that guy and bring him in motion, both of their linebackers turned their head. The second they turned their head, we snapped the ball. That was the key. And we caught them because both of them turned their head. We snapped the ball. Our guard hit him right in the chest, and we got the first down easily. Drew Brees comes back on the field. We go down and score. We win a really tight game. That was stealing a possession. And Sean was great to me. Now, you didn't run a million of them, and I never failed. I was 100%. Though he thought it was a good risk, and it was. It worked. Matter of fact, he asked me one time, he said, he didn't want to, I know you, because he runs everything. Believe me, he controls the game. Sean Payton is excellent. He does all the timeouts. He loves that. And, I ran this one in a playoff game against Philadelphia. And he said, Mike, what was he's looking? He kind of, what was that? I told him that. He laughed and he said, you let me know one of these times, will you? So I said, yeah, I'll try. But I had a great relationship with him. I did. I loved working for him.
Got about a minute and a half in this segment. Another listener text in and wanted to know biggest game that you felt you won or lost by a special teams move you made.
Good one. It's easy for me. It's easy. The opening game in 2011 with Rex Ryan, when we opened up on a Sunday night against Dallas. It was the anniversary, a 10-year anniversary of 9/11. It was the most emotional game I've ever been involved in. The beginning, it was President Bush was there. He did the coin toss, the
coin toss. Yeah.
He did that. The flyover was incredible. It was the biggest flag I've ever seen, and it was tremendous. We blocked the punt, a punt that I had actually drawn up about 8 years before that against Joe DeCamillis, who was at Jacksonville then. Now he was at Dallas, my good friend. and Joe McKnight blocked it. I just knew it was a weakness that they had, and we got it. It gave us the game. It was tied, and Nick Folk kicked the field goal. It was a tremendous game, that one. And, of course, the opening game of 2002, where we ran 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. I believe best special teams game ever played in NFL history. And we ran one in overtime, which back in those days, the game was over. So they kick off to us. It was a call by me. I did a check with me. I signaled it. Chad Morton ran for a touchdown. So those 2 games, that's why we won the game. Those are pretty cool.
Still brings a smile to his face. Mike Westhoff. You can follow him on Twitter at STCoachMike, STCoachMike. The book is Figure It Out. It's available now. You can order it through mascotbooks.com, but it's going to widespread release Tuesday, the 12th. Barnes & Noble, Target. You can also order it now at Amazon.com. A final segment with Mike Westhoff, taking your questions and comments via the Twitch chat room and texts here on Miller and Moulton. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
And then all of a sudden to see him disappear, wow. And that's pretty tough to take.
Got paid.
Yeah, I understand the argument. I get it.
Once he got paid.
And that was it.
Pulled a Kyrie Irving last year. Be interesting to see if he plays this year.
Yes, it will.
If he does, we've been talking. We think the Saints are very
It's a top 5 defense.
I agree. Yes, they are.
And
it's a top 5. And I still think Jameis can play a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's awful.
I agree with you.
We think it's a top 8 offensive line.
I agree.
Okay.
I love the big kid they drafted.
Now, Kamara might get suspended, but we think with the 2 backs, him and Ingram.
Right.
Okay. Although I don't know if
they re-signed Ingram.
Is it
Did they?
Ingram?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They brought him back.
Right. Kamara and Ingram. They added they've got a wide receivers room now. If Michael Thomas plays, they've got 3 receivers.
Darn right they do.
Which they've never really had.
No.
I agree with you with the quarterback. I got to know him a little bit in going back and visiting with him. And I actually really enjoyed talking to him.
I was a Jameis guy out of college.
Well, now we're going to find out, though, if the guy can coach. He had a bad experience with the Raiders. But that was a bad experience.
He's a good coach.
Okay. So
I like him personally. I think he does a good job.
Allen.
He's one of the first-year guys that called me. Said, Mike, how do I configure this roster? Help me. I said, you're going to eliminate one of the peanuts and sign an extra defensive lineman. Special teams guys will learn how to use them. An undersized pass rush type guy. So instead of dressing 6, dress 7. Or instead of 7, dress 8. Whatever. Those are the things that you have to do. And Dennis will do a nice job of that. They've got a decent football team.
And not only that, they feel they own the Bucs.
Yes.
They're 4-1 the last 2 years against
Right.
Tampa. The one lost the playoff.
They match up.
when
They
had
can
4
match.
turnovers.
And that defense is good. They got some good football players on that team. Yeah, I think they're going to have a chance. It'll be interesting to see. I still think in that division, though, you got to go through the Rams. I think the
You mean
Rams
in the conference?
in that conference out
Right.
there, in that conference, I meant to say, yeah, that's where I think. I don't know. They look pretty good. They're still pretty good.
They do.
They kind of, to me, they figured out the way that they believe you can do it. To pay that money to those real key couple guys,
Right.
get that quarterback. They kind of, that's their.
Well, we go back 15 years with this one. If you really think about it, Peyton's run with the Colts, the roster was the same way. Polian got all this credit for the roster. They basically had 5 great players and 40 guys.
That's about right.
That was basically the roster.
Receivers and 2 pass
They had-
rushers.
Right. I mean, at one point in time, they had Edgerrin, but then after Edge, they had Peyton. They had 2 receivers. Dallas Clark, when he was healthy, was terrific. And they had 2 guys who could rush the passer.
That's correct.
And if Bob Sanders stayed healthy, great. But I mean, really, there were 5, 6, 7 guys, and then a bunch of truck drivers. I mean, there really were.
That's pretty close. That's exactly what they were.
Yeah.
And we went against them all those times. Though I'm
Right.
pretty familiar with them. I lined up against them. I knew I was going to get them, which I did. Kick to me. You better not kick it in that last game that we won. You can't kick the ball over to the right side to me. Camardi had to go in because Brad Smith got hurt. We ran the kickoff up past the 50, completed the pass, kicked the field goal, and went home. We sent them home. They should have won that game. Should never.
Is that
kicked it over there.
that's with Sanchez?
Yes.
Right.
Yep. That's how we won it.
Right.
Yeah, that was his rookie year.
With the kickoff return over to
Yeah.
50. Come on. I can't give
What?
it to me. Kick on the other side. Don't do it there. I had them. Miami right. I still even know what I called. Those are fun times, fun days. We were good. We were a good football team then. We had a style, and Mark Sanchez was good enough to manage the style. But we had a great offensive line. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Alan Faneca, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Because they fired Mangini. You guys went 9-7.
Well, we were 8-3.
Right. And Favre got hurt and lost 4 of your last 5.
Exactly right.
Okay. But then they fired Mangini. Do you
Right.
think that team goes to back-to-back AFC title games with Mangini? Because the roster wasn't much different.
No. Good question.
I mean, you added Tomlinson.
Hold that answer. Let's do that
Okay.
coming back because that's
All right.
because there's a lot of Jet fans out there, and
Good question.
and Dolphin fans don't like the Jets, so it
Right.
works both ways.
Well, Mangini's last game as head coach was the Dolphins. Dolphins went in, beat them, won the division. Mangini got fired.
That's right.
Marge Sanchez, the
He
Sanchez.
stepped on too many toes.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't have fired him though, because I think if Brett Favre, whether Brett was going to come back, I don't know.
10
I
seconds.
don't know how that was going to work out. I don't know. When Brett was there, though,
Yeah.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Thrilled to have been joined by Mike Westhoff in studio. You can follow him on Twitter at STCoachMike, STCoachMike. He's authored the book, Figure It Out. It comes out Tuesday, widespread distribution. It's available now through his publisher, mascotbooks.com, mascotbooks.com, but you name it, you can get it Tuesday, anywhere, anytime, any place. Figure it out.
You want to text the coach a question? FSN Radio is the keyword. 21,000 is the number. FSN Radio to 21,000 if you have a question for Coach Mike Westhoff. And you were just getting to one as we ended the break, so I wanted you to pick that right back up. Where we left off.
We were talking to somehow the Jets and the Colts, and then we were talking about a playoff year, and it was Rex Ryan's first year as head coach of the Jets, and you went in, you beat Peyton and the Colts, you eventually make it to the AFC Championship game. And I'm just curious, do you think the Jets, Rex's first 2 years, you go to back-to-back AFC title games, but he replaced Eric Mangini, who was there 3 years and had 2 winning seasons, including his last year there. He went 9-7. And until Favre got hurt, they were the number 1 seed. I don't have to tell you, you were there.
We're 8-3.
You went into Foxborough, beat the Patriots. You were 8-3. You had the best record in the conference.
Went down to Tennessee and beat the Titans when they were ranked right at the very top.
Okay, if Mangini had not been fired, which was a controversial move at the time, would those Jets teams had gone to the AFC Championship game with Mangini like they did with Rex.
With Brett Favre. If Brett Favre was going to stay, and I don't know the ramifications, I don't know how that contract was worked. I couldn't tell you that. If Brett had been there and kept that continuity, I would say yes. And when he got hurt, then that's when we lost.
Right.
And then they let him. And Eric stepped on a lot of toes. I thought he was maturing as time went on. Personally, he was actually great to me. And I started to at first I didn't like him, but then I got a relationship with him and I saw a lot of good things. And I thought he was maturing a little bit as a coach. I would have not fired him. I would have not done that if it were my decision. It wasn't. Now, Rex brought in a different philosophy that he wanted, a different defense. The whole thing of the way Rex did it. With Darrelle Revis and the type team we had, Rex wanted to run the ball. Well, we had that great offensive line, LaDainian Tomlinson. And then Mark Sanchez became a manageable quarterback. Now, that would have had a lot of different parts. But I think Eric could have done that if with Brett. Would he have gone quite that direction the way Rex did?
No.
Probably not. I don't think he would have. I would agree with that. So in those ways, it probably was the right move to make.
Good question from a texter. Says, we all know how it feels when a special teams like a block punt or a punt return works. But when it goes awry, can you pinpoint as to what caused it, or was it just bad luck?
No, a lot of times you can pinpoint. If you can't pinpoint it, you shouldn't be doing it. I can pinpoint. I don't even need to go look at the film. I know what happened. I used to hear that, I'll take a look at the film. Well, you better take a look at the film during the week. You won't have to figure it out. That was my philosophy. I would know what the problem was. Now, a lot of times, you got to be a little more specific. When the guys come off the field, you have to communicate, and do a lot of that. I believed that as a special teams coach on game day, you had to be the hardest worker on the field because you're always moving. You never stop. I never would just stand and watch the game. I was always, talking to guys, figuring things out, talking about things. So one of the things that I learned that really helped me is basically before every play, I had a timeout. I pretty much had a timeout where I could, take what I needed to do and get it done. That's why I did so much drawing. So I would go into a huddle, like especially on kickoff and return. I had everything. I got very good at it. And I could show you my game plan. Trust me. And I had everything drawn up and I could get in there. I'd be in there in a huddle. I'd say, all right, Dave, take a look. Now, remember we're going to, on this one, this is what I would da-da-da-da-da. So instead of having 2 kickoff returns, I'd have 12. And you would know exactly what to do. And that's how we became so very, very good at it because we just didn't make mental mistakes. And then the idea was if you did it like you practiced it, you could be pretty doggone good here. And we can have 9 guys that can lead the league.
You, for the most part, long stretch with Shula and the Dolphins, and then Jimmy, and then long stretch with the Jets. And I know you did a few years at the end with the Saints. How many teams called you trying to hire you away? Because there's one team in mind in the last 10 years. Did the Packers ever call you? Because they've cost themselves at least 2 trips to the Super Bowl in the last 8 years because of abysmal special teams.
Yes, several times. Back in the and there was one time that I was actually very tempted to go because I just love Green Bay. It's one of my favorite stadiums. If I were ever just going to, which I have done, and I'll like to continue to do as I'm retired, just to go to a game, like just any spectator. It's Green Bay is where I want to go. I mean, I just love it there. The fans are great. You park in the neighborhood. You walk in some guy's yard. You get a brats he's cooking on the grill, and so it's yes, they did, and I was very tempted to go. I did not, but they always intrigued me, and they did reach out to me. Yes, they did.
One of the things you talked about in the book, and you'd mentioned the time with the Jets, but you talked about you just talked about the 10-year anniversary of 9/11.
Yes.
You were also with the Jets when 9/11 happened.
Yes. And
you got into specifics. You said a lot of things about Herm that you liked a lot about Herm. There's some things you didn't like about his coaching, but talk about Herm post 9/11 and the Jets post 9/11, because I thought the story was fascinating.
I thought it was, it was right in our backyard. I mean, I could walk out. I used to ride my bike a lot, and you could walk out from it where we were at Hofstra and over there and take a look, and you see the smoke. I mean, it was right there. Everybody knew someone. Our football, and we were supposed to travel out to play Oakland, and our guys they just weren't going to get on the plane. They were just, they were Vinny Testaverde and Curtis Martin were our leaders. Kevin Mawai, there's 2 Hall of Famers right there, and the football team just couldn't do it. And so what Herman did a good job of, and even Terry Bradway, who is, as you well know, is not my favorite, but he did a nice job on that day.
He was the GM at the time.
He was the GM, excuse me, of really sticking with what the players. And we said, look, guys, the league wants us to play. I think they're going to want us to play. And so you've got to make a tough decision here. We decided, I talked with Herman, because the rumor was that if we didn't play, then we would lose the game and they would lose a game check. And I said, if they give a game check, I'm giving one of mine. I'm giving mine. And Herm agreed. And he and I went with the staff and talked to them, and we all agreed on it. We were all behind the players. And they said, look, guys, we just can't, we're not getting on the plane. So they told, Woody Johnson was on a conference call. He was the owner, and they let everybody know that we're just not going. We're not going to do it. Well, if we means we lose, we lose. And so
did you guys have any communication with the Giants? Because the Giants players also said the same thing.
I do not know that. I believed, and I could be wrong, but I believed that the New York Jets took the first swing.
Okay.
We said, we're not doing it. And the Giants were right there along with us because they were even closer.
Right. Because they were in Jersey, and technically, geographically, they're actually closer.
They're right across the river.
Right.
So they're seeing everything. And, I remember we went down to visit the site when they decided not to play. We took a bus and we all went down, and they actually wouldn't let us back in because there was some type of contamination. And so we went and helped unload trucks. That's all the players. And we did it right. I can still remember the players were there, and as people would walk by, they'd say, help us out. Next thing you know, we have women, we had everybody working, unloading the trucks. It was got me. It was a really emotional time. But the Jets did an incredible job of getting involved. Incredible.
I will say the two football teams and the two baseball teams were both amazing.
Yes,
they really were during that time. We've had a few people ask about certain players in particular and the Hall of Fame. We'll start with a couple of guys known for their special teams. Do you believe that a Devin Hester and a Steve Tasker, should be in the Hall of Fame?
Steve Tasker, without question, not even close to me. He could wreck the game. I mean, he really was. Buffalo went to 4 Super Bowls. They lost them, yes, I know, but they went to 4 Super Bowls. They were a great football team. You had better find a way to neutralize him, or you weren't going to win. He really made a big difference. Devin, as much as I loved him, I'm not as sold on that because of the fact that when he played against us, he played against me, he couldn't get across the street. I don't care whatever you say, man. And I'm no disrespect, because I'd have loved to have him. Don't get me wrong. That's just how I feel, but it just didn't happen against me. And so
who was the best return man that you faced in your career?
Dion. And you also said you did well against him. So when you had the Hesters and the Dions that you had to coach against, was that week different than a normal week, and why and how?
It was. Well, with Dion, I had Reggie Roby. Don't forget, and Reggie could hit a rocket ship. You guys, especially if I'd really get him going. I said, Reggie, I don't want this guy to get an inch, and he'd bust it a mile high in the sky, bring it down right on the sideline, and we wouldn't give Devin anything. I tease not Devin, but Dion. I tease him because I know him pretty well, and I said, if you had played against me every week, I said you'd be working as a greeter at Walmart.
I'll bet he'd love that.
Oh, but I like him. He and I are close. I love him. I'm good friends with him. I just love talking to him. And he came to visit us with the Saints. And his son was a pretty good football player. And I had his son catching punts in practice off from Tom Morstead. So, I have a tremendous respect for Deion Sanders. I have a lot of respect for him, but I love teasing him. But yet I also had Reggie Roby to be able to help me out against those kind of guys. So it helps when you got a good kicker. It helps.
One other guy, and you were not his position coach per se, but there's a little bit of a movement for Zach Thomas in the Hall of Fame. And so during your time in your 30 plus years as coach, you could see whether it was a guy on your team, but a guy on the other team. And so when you watch Zach and you watch his contemporaries, did you think he was every bit the contemporary who are now in the Hall of Fame?
Yes. Absolutely. He's my guy. I believe I drafted him. I know Jimmy drafted him. Yes, he did, Jimmy Johnson. But I'm the guy that went out and worked him out. And that was and there's a whole thing in the book all about
and
it.
Lied for him.
I did. I lied. Yes, I did. Yeah. And I did a thing where, and I talked about it. Yeah, I did.
Well, what was the lie?
Woody Hayes told me one time, and it's all in the book of how it happened. He said, don't ever let a number make your decision as to who a football player is. Don't ever let a number. Woody Hayes.
Meaning like on the jersey or draft pick?
No. The number they did, how big he is.
Oh, okay.
How big? Don't let a number. He bench presses, reps, he does 22. Well, who cares? It's not if he has got to have base numbers. Yes, of course. But, Zach Thomas, when I went out to Texas Tech, he was 5'10 and a half, and he weighed 223 pounds, and he's a linebacker. He did 22 bench presses. I wrote down 24. I cheated. I know I did. I didn't care. I wasn't going to lose him to a number. I just knew he was a football player. He made every play, he made every tackle. He was smart. I remember studying film with him and going in and meeting with him and out there in Texas Tech in Lubbock and just sitting with them and discussing these things. And I can remember when he was playing for us, every Tuesday and Wednesday night, he would stay and he would come and get dinner with the coaches and then take it down. He'd be by himself. I used to take a plate and go down and sit with him. And he would show me. He said, you see when he's got his feet like that, he's going to run over here. And that's how hard he studied. And he was he practiced all the time. He never missed. He was there all the time. And he was the key ingredient of a great NFL defense. Madison, Surtain are the two corners. You've got Jason Taylor and, Trace Armstrong are pass rushers. I mean, we were really good. Daryl Gardner and Tim Bowens are the tackles. I mean, that's one of the great NFL defenses. And Zach Thomas held it all together. So to me, yes, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I believe he will.
Jimmy signed Jack Del Rio. He's going to be the middle linebacker his first year with Miami.
That's right.
Lasted one preseason game,
Yeah.
put Zach out there. He made like double-digit tackles, and he put his arm around Jack Del Rio and said, Jack, I got to cut you.
That's pretty close.
Jack's thinking to himself, wait, you brought me in to be starting middle linebacker. And after one preseason game, Jimmy's like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's
I remember
over.
he walked into a staff meeting we used to meet after practice, and Jimmy would love to come in. He'd have a Heineken, and then he'd be going home. Jimmy was going to hit and run because he came real early in the morning. And anyway, he said he went up to the depth chart, and he made this move. He took Jack Del Rio off, and he put Zach Thomas up. Our linebacker coach, George Hill, I thought was going to follow our coordinator. He went, he said, no, we're going to build a defense around him. He said, because this guy behind these guys, remember now, it's Daryl Gardner,
Tim Bowens, right?
Now they're really
Had
good.
the two big tackles who could keep the guards off the linebacker.
Exactly right. He said he'll run all over the field. He said, and then of course we had Trace Armstrong and Jason Taylor. So I mean, that's a great defensive line that you're going to play. He said, this guy's the guy. Build the defense around him.
Very quickly, the Bills-Chiefs playoff game, the squib kick at the end by the Bills. Is that the right play? They just screwed it up?
Yeah, you can't just kick off and take no time off the clock. No time, you give the ball to 25-yard line. There's the way I would have kicked the ball to keep it in play. You hit it, you can hit it high and hit it down, get it inside to 10, over toward the number. You don't have to put it right out of bounds. You're not going to take that chance. So you keep it right there. They're going to have to do something. They can't fair catch those.
So you wouldn't have squibbed it. You would have done kind of the higher short to the 10.
Depending on who I had. The guys I had at the end of my career, when I would have hit the high one. If not, there are times when I would have squibbed it and make them play it. The key thing is turn it into a play, get some time off the clock, and keep them back as deep as you can in the hole. You can't just squib it down there anywhere, because what you do is you should set up your offense to where you can pick that ball up and get something out of it, and get down. So, but yeah, make the clock run.
You do this every Thursday, or do you have a life? All right.
No, I love listening to you guys. So this is fun for me. No, it's my pleasure.
Mike Westhoff, the book is Figure It Out. Widespread release on Tuesday. Barnes & Noble, Target, wherever it is you buy your books. It's available now, Amazon.com, but also the publisher, mascotbooks.com, will send it to you now if you don't want to wait till Tuesday. Figure It Out. Mike Westhoff. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's good. The way the game is today, he could play to your 50.
But the wife wanted him to quit at 40.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much, man. Thank you so much.
I gotta get my stuff on.
Okay. Flip your camera around when you get a moment.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad we flipped it though.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a good call. That was a good hour. That's good stuff right there. Oh, shit. This is what happens when you have a guest on. I have to find a quick good, bad, and ugly here.
That is true, Tim.
What the hell are you doing? One of these days, he doesn't realize one of these days I'm going to turn around and just, he's either going to get an elbow in the chest.
I got ninja moves, bro.
You're either going to get an elbow, a chest, or just I'm going to turn around and punch you in the mouth.
I got ninja moves. I'll stop your blow.
Well, thank you guys. You enjoyed the interview in the Twitch chat room.
You with a little Perry, baby.
Not that he needs to do it, not that he wants to do it, but that's a great guest. We used to have Mike, for those that are only familiar with us because of this third act, and we used to have Mike regularly before he went back to the Saints. That couple, 2-3 years in between is when he walked away the first time and before Sean dragged him back in with the Saints.
10 seconds.
We used to have him on all the time.
He's a good guest.
Oh,
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. And I know we constantly urge you, if you miss any part of the show, to go to floridasportsnetwork.com, floridasportsnetwork.com. But we just did an hour in studio with Mike Westhoff. And if by chance you missed it, well, download it. It's pretty darn good, if we do say so ourselves, because he's a great guest and he's authored a book and it comes out Tuesday. Figure it out. And if you hear any part of the interview and you missed it, well, you'll likely order the book.
So he's having a little book, I don't know, grand opening.
Is it a signing? Is it a soiree?
It's a soiree. And he invited me, and he's trying to bring the OJ McDuffies, and he's trying, and I'm going to be a kid in a candy store at this thing.
Now, do you have to MC, or are you just a guest?
I offered. I said, whatever you need.
Right.
And the details aren't there because he said, I'm doing this. I said, well, why don't you get all the guys up in one area and I'll work the room and let
Sure.
people ask questions if they want to. And so and he said, that's a good idea. And so I said, whatever it is you need, you let me know.
Have you ever done the Phil Donahue before? That was the first person I ever remembered who took the mic and kind of went through the crowd.
Oh, yeah. You got to remember,
show.
I worked for minor league hockey teams. I had to.
Oh, that's right. You guys used to do the once or twice a year, the season ticket holders. And
also when I was, kind of interning and starting out, we had the coaches show and there was actually people that would show up.
Well,
I would do it for the broadcaster. I was the guy walking around working the crowd. So yeah, I've done the Donahue
so
thing
when
before.
you did the coaches show and it was at the local sports bar, you got up and then went.
No. When I was in Atlanta,
Gotcha.
Ken Double did the coaches show. I had the mic and would work the crowd.
You were Donahue.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of one of my first.
Were you allowed to speak or no?
No.
So you were just
the mic guy. I actually wasn't Donahue. I was one of his two guys that walked around and we've got a question from the crowd. Stick the microphone in their face.
Oh, whose arm is that? That's Mark Miller.
Funny story on that note. When I first started broadcasting with the Knights, I had done color for a period. Kenny Double, who was my mentor in the business, Kenny looked at me before a third period and he wasn't feeling well, had a sore throat, doing the whole lemon honey tea thing. And he finally looks at me and he goes, big boy. And he turned the mic on. He goes, big boy, you're on. I can't get through the third myself. So there was no time to be nervous.
Right.
So that was the first one with him. But then we started doing television. And I had a bad mullet. And I had hockey hair. And so I had not yet got my hair cut. And I started doing the TV thing. But they wouldn't, our boss, and you had met Richard Adler, we went over to Florida.
Right.
Richard just had Kenny on for the stand-ups. Kenny would do the stand-up solo. And then in the booth, I mostly in the beginning was reading the liner cards. We had sold
Advertisers.
So I'm reading, shop Kroger for great deals on Tombstone Pizza, crap like that, one after another. And Kenny would slowly work me into the broadcast. And then I wasn't on camera, and they wanted to do a whole campaign to try to figure, they were going to joke with me because finally I got the stand-up, after 20 games, I got to do the stand-up. So yeah, I was very much hidden with arms and hands for quite a while to start my illustrious broadcast career.
Before we did an hour with Mike Westhoff, we were discussing two things in the sports world a lot. One was just the amazingness that is Ohtani. And Felipe went to the game last night, Marlins Park. Angels snapped the Marlins 6-game winning streak 5-2. Ohtani pitches 7 innings, gave up an unearned run in the first, allowed just 2 hits, struck out 10. Oh, yeah. And then in a 1-1 game in the 5th, stroked the 2 RBI single, which turns out to be the game-winning hit. I mean, this is so I said to Felipe as he was walking in the building this morning, so you went to see Babe Ruth. How was it? He goes, amazing.
Was the crowd rooting for the Marlins or Ohtani last night?
No, there were more Marlins fans than Angels fans. There were no Angels fans.
No, there were no.
Right.
That's why I said, were they rooting for Ohtani? I was very specific.
Marlins.
Okay,
I'd say Marlins.
So when he was striking guys out, people were not cheering.
No, people were just like, oh.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. All right.
There wasn't a situation. I think it was 2 outs, bases loaded, Mike Trout, 2-2 count, and everyone was cheering. There was people standing too
for the
like,
strikeout.
Whoa, Trevor Rogers hit him, and then they brought in a run, hit by pitch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big night for the Marlins if they could have pulled off the victory. I know, it was Ohtani pitching and all that, but 6 in a row, they would have gotten to 500 with 7 in a row.
And now they head to New York for a 4-game series against the Mets, who have kind of owned the Marlins so far this year. The Mets have beaten up on the Phillies and the Marlins and have yet to really play the Braves. They're going to do that on Monday, which is a bit of a break for the Braves. Let's face it. Like the first 2 months of the year, the Phillies didn't have their act together, and then they played 3 or 4 series against the Mets. And when the Marlins were scuffling, they had to play a lot of games against the Mets. Well, the Braves were a bit fortunate. When they were scuffling, the Mets weren't on their schedule. Now that they got their you-know-what together, okay, now here come the Mets, and the Braves are like, well, hell, we could beat the 27 Yankees right now. So, yeah, come to town. Good luck.
It's funny because the first 2 batters that Ohtani faced both got on base. And then
the second one hit the ball hard.
Yeah, and Garrett Cooper drove in a run. And then that was the only run of the game for the Marlins.
So the just majesty that is Ohtani and the national media catching up to the Miller and Moulton theme of the last few weeks, in which we're like, listen, the big issue is not how much Judge is going to get paid and by who. The big issue is what in the world are you going to have to pay Ohtani? I mean, if he's an all-star pitcher and an all-star hitter, I mean,
the only thing that I get from anybody, well, he DHs. That's the only, when you try to compare him to a Trout for money as the batter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, so he's worth $20 million as a batter?
Well, I mean, that's what we said. Trout's making like 43. So is Ohtani as a hitter?
20 to 25 as a DH? I mean, what's the most expensive DH out there? You're better at this than I am with what salaries are out there. I don't know what.
Well, believe it or not, there are very few great DHs. There really isn't a David Ortiz today. So, and the really good ones are young, so they're about to get paid. But yeah, let's just say also he's left-handed. And he will be 29 because his 28th birthday was 2 days ago. So he will be 29 in the offseason in which he's a free agent, and he's a left-handed hitter.
Wasn't JD Martinez a DH for a little bit?
Yeah. And then he's, kind of on the guy in Cleveland, I don't think's a DH. Martinez, who's.
the highest paid Cabrera is only DHing right now, right. But he's at the back end of a gigantic contract.
But let's just say Ohtani's worth 25 as a hitter. And you got to remember, Ohtani's going to go, well, the third baseman, Rendon's making 35. Okay. But let's just say but 25 as a hitter. 6 years, 150 million as a hitter. Okay.
Double it.
Now, the pitcher.
Just double it.
I mean, remember, the Angels just paid Syndergaard $21 million a year for 2 years. He had thrown 2 innings in the last 2 years. They gave him $21 million a year.
Not to mention what this guy's going to bring at the gate. He brought 5,000 to Marlin Park last night, or to Lone, what is it?
Lone Depot Park.
Lone Depot Park. I didn't want to get the wrong name there. That bothers me when I do that.
It's very important. They did 5,411 more people Wednesday night than they did Tuesday night when they had their ace Alcantara pitching.
And I'm sorry, it's so stupid. Loan Depot. The L in Loan Depot is not capitalized, so it looks like it says Ion Depot Park. It's so stupid.
Bothers him.
The things that bother this young man. Do you know you're going to be a basket case by 40 if you don't watch it?
Yeah, you're going to have
because you already have a lot of things that really work you up.
People can agree with me. It's stupid that the L is not capitalized.
Well, but again, no one's disagreeing with you. Actually, a lot of people are, because if that's how they spell their company name, then they would probably all disagree with you. What I am saying, Felipe, is how adamant and angry you get over something that doesn't matter. That's all. You have a lot of things that really bother you. You're gonna have to try to have less things bother you as you get older.
No, it's true. I get fixated on random things.
And also, I can point out that it may seem ridiculous, but at the same point in time, you remembered it. Okay, which in and of itself
means it worked.
Means a lot. So just consider that, because there are a lot of sponsorships that we don't remember. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay. Keep that in mind. But the magic that is Ohtani, and he was in South Florida last night for his only appearance at Lone
Depot.
And Baker Mayfield finally got traded. And 5th round pick, which could become a 4th, not in next year's draft, must be remembered. It's in the 2024 draft. A 5th rounder, which could become a 4th, depending on how much he plays, etc. And Carolina picks up a little less than $5 million of his contract. So, if you're the Browns, you had $42 million left, and now you just saved $5+ million. I mean, now the Browns actually, because that was $42 million with Baker on the cap. So you can actually add $5-6 million that the Browns now, they have like 47 and change left. I mean, they could trade for Garoppolo, put his full salary on the books, and still have well over $22 million left under the cap.
Then they should be making that trade before the show's over.
Well, now that Baker Mayfield's in Carolina, can you re-sign Odell Beckham? I mean, come on now. Are we trying to win games or not?
My goodness, Amari Cooper and Odell.
You can offer him more money than the Rams. The Rams want him back, and he
wants to be back.
But you can offer him a lot more. You could literally say, Odell, what are they offering you? Oh, they're offering me 3. Fine, we'll offer you 6. We'll offer you 8.
I think Odell's going to want to leave LA.
No, I don't think Odell would go back to Cleveland.
That's what I'm saying.
Why? Baker's not there.
I understand that.
In the words of Joakim Noah, do you like it here? Do you think Cleveland is cool? I mean, I've never heard someone say,
hold on.
I'm going to Cleveland on vacation.
Listen, you and I can hold a grudge, and we can get honked off at somebody. But if their idea of an apology 11 months or 9 months later even is, hey, listen, what happened last year happened. All right, we're sorry. Here's how sorry we are. We're going to offer you $8 million this year. Whenever you're healthy, you play. $8 million. That's a pretty good apology.
It's a really good apology.
I mean, the place you want to go is offering you less than half that.
And you're using logic in this argument when we're talking about grudges. It's still the same coaching staff. It's still all the same people there that he left. I'm just saying I find it difficult to think Odell Beckham would sign with Cleveland, even if the money is that good.
All right.
That's all.
I'm just throwing it out there, though.
Would you, Mr. Grudge?
Would I? Listen, I would spend the... Yes.
No, not sign him. Would you sign with them? You're Odell Beckham.
Oh, twice the money? Hell yeah. 1 year? Yeah, absolutely I would. 1 year. Then I'm going to LA when I'm fully healthy. Absolutely I am. Sure. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. I got a career that could end any moment. I've blown out my knee twice. Damn right I'm taking $5 million extra.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Oh, I got my first text from your wife yesterday.
Oh, how'd that go?
It was great.
Jimmy and Rosalind Carter are celebrating their 76th anniversary today.
Wow.
He was 21, she was 18 when they got married.
Wow.
So he's 97 and she's 94.
Wow.
76 years. I'd like to live to 76. That's 20 more.
First running of the Bulls. That's going to be our good today, David. That saves me a lot of time about trying to find a good.
I thought you were going to say the good is the 4 people who got gored or whatever it was.
Might be. This FARC, where I get a lot of the good, the bad, and ugly stories from, they write headlines. You have to write a headline and submit the story. You got to write your own headline. Man lights fireworks on top of his head. Funeral arrangement pending. Now here's the shocking part. It wasn't Florida.
Hey, Felipe?
Yes.
Nice thing there with the headphones.
LeBron headband.
You should probably just run the Westhoff interview on Labor Day. Just run the hour.
Yeah.
Flat out.
I mean,
I was thinking about it.
I mean, because that's timeless.
Oh yeah.
And
Stories.
That's what they call evergreen in the business.
Right.
Evergreen.
So, keep that in mind for the Labor Day show, which, by the way, and I know you don't listen to us hardly at all, but hey, you want to keep coming in here on what should be days off and working? Fine. Why should I care? But this will be the last time. You should be.
I know.
You should be an asshole about this and say, listen, I should not have to come in here on national holidays.
And I don't think that you should. I mean, I think.
Right. I
don't think Marty's aware that you are.
I think he is.
I haven't had a day off. It's so real.
Right. And quite frankly, if that means one of our affiliates doesn't have the show, well, it's on them. It's on them.
I really hope, because I asked Rick 2 days ago if he could fill in the 18th and the 19th, and he said, I gotta see. I don't know. We'll see.
What happened to your buddy that you brought in there? He has no interest in getting up to learn this?
Dude just flaked on me. Like, he's like, oh, I had an ear infection. I'm like, okay.
I don't know what that has to do with coming in 2 weeks, but okay.
No, because that was like a while ago. Plus, the pressure of training someone and getting them in is making sure that they're going to be here on time. Canada, don't we all?
Nice job.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Brought my camera to the Marlins game yesterday. I got some great photos of Shohei.
Awesome.
Yeah. Had to take some historical evidence of Babe Ruth, you know? It's funny because, and I'll say this in 10 seconds, he had a mound visit in the 7th inning. Dude in like athletic casual wear came out. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the translator.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What we got? 20 minutes? No. 30 minutes?
What's going
What
on?
are you doing?
I don't know. You guys were just silent.
What's
What's
going
going
on
on here? I'm asking. Like,
The
hey,
music was playing.
you guys
We're
alive?
just- Hey, no offense. Let us do the show. Okay.
Okay. All right. Making sure that you guys were alive, you know?
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
You're going to have a lot of days off soon. I can assure you that.
No.
Not just the 2 you're looking for at this rate. You want to play games on the air? I'll play games on the air.
I knew it'd be
20
tough
years I've done this crap. Okay.
I knew it'd be tough for him after going to Otani last night and getting back and 2-3 hours sleep. I knew he'd have a tough time. He'd break at some point. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when our final thoughts all coming up 20 minutes away. Wimbledon, we're at the semis for both the men and women. And outside of Djokovic and Nadal, basically nobody knows who the other 6 are.
Nope.
And so think about it. Djokovic and Nadal are both, what, 35 and 36? Djokovic's 35. I think Nadal's 36. I mean, oof.
And if by some chance Nadal doesn't play in the semi, which he's talking about, and I agree with you, he's a diva and he'll probably play, but he's already put his built-in excuse of his injury if he doesn't win. And if he doesn't win, who's watching this final?
Well, I will say, though, it'll be Kyrgios against Djokovic. And Kyrgios is the McEnroe of his day, not in terms of
No. I got you.
on the court accomplishments, but in terms
But
of
6
behavior.
people know who he is.
I know.
I'm talking about from an audience standpoint.
Maybe
It's one of
Djokovic.
those that Twitter could develop into a good if Kyrgios gets a lead or does something crazy. But
I will say, Nadal's never beaten Djokovic on grass, and I don't think he would do it Sunday either, abdominal injury or not. I mean, Djokovic's just the better grass court player. I mean, he hasn't lost on this surface in 5 years.
and yet if he's got to do it for a couple more to even get into the record books.
Right. Well, and also, as of right now, he can't play in the U.S. Open because he's not allowed in the country.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So, he didn't play in the Australian. They wouldn't let him. He got beat by Nadal in an epic quarterfinal. And so let's just say he wins here. He gets to 21. Well, as of right now, he can't play in New York.
Man, we haven't talked about that since like March.
And I wonder whether or not things are going to change in the next 7 weeks that will allow him to come to New York and play. He's not going to do anything to make a change.
Then I don't see any reasons why they're going to do anything to make it
I'm
change.
just wondering, will things change? Remember,
they haven't yet.
Remember, though, things changed involving Kyrie late in the regular season, in which all of a sudden, oh, wow, he could play because the new mayor of New York City changed things. I'm just wondering, policies change. This will get a little bit of attention, let's just say, if Djokovic wins. I mean, Mark, you're not going to believe this, but sometimes political leaders, all right, change policy because stuff gets negative attention. I mean, it's crazy, but occasionally it happens.
I've got you, and we'll keep an eye on it.
All right.
I'm guessing personally,
Right.
if you were to, the proverbial my $20,
Right.
I would bet on policies not changing between now and September.
And so Djokovic could be playing his last 2 Grand Slam matches of the year, the semis, in which he's expected to, although he's playing a Brit in the semis, just the 4th Brit to ever make it to the semis on the men's side in the last 50 years.
And I don't think Australia has changed their rules, so I don't know if he plays next year in Australia. No, I'm just kind of fast forwarding this thing a little bit.
And when you're 35 years old, you wonder just how many more are you going to seriously? And clearly him and Nadal are racing here to see who's going to end up with the most overall, and goodness knows if it's a record that'll ever be broken.
Mark, I'll bet against that. I bet they change the policy and he plays in the U.S. Open.
Ooh.
Name the bet.
Well, $20.
All right.
$20. All right. I'll name the bet. It's my $20. There's the proverbial bet. So there you go. That's a bet that we can remember.
Okay.
And that we can hold people to. But Wimbledon semis going on. And Scottish Open is underway. Great field. I mean, a field every bit as good, almost a major quality field.
It really is.
I mean, 14 of the top 15. I don't believe Rory's in it. He's the one. And only 3 of the LIV golfers are in it, and they had to sue to get in it. So there's no DJ. There's no Brooks. There's no Oosthuizen, there's no Answer, there's, guys who are ranked in the top 25. None of them are in it. But we didn't talk about this today. Did you see Rory McIlroy's comments?
Yeah, thank you very much, by the way, for sending those to me.
So Rory, who, as we know, he and Justin Thomas have been the guys holding the PGA Tour flag and marching on behalf of the PGA Tour. And Rory has gotten universal praise for everything he has had to say really in the last 5 months.
For being a leader of the tour, for jumping out and being the guy. I mean, Justin Thomas has been there, but Rory has been at the forefront of this. There's no doubt.
And Rory gave an interview after that 2-day Pro-Am in Ireland in which he was asked about the future and dealing with the LIV series. And Rory said, well, clearly the PGA Tour made mistakes or needed to do things differently because look at what the LIV series has done, and then we've basically adopted things that they've done. And I don't begrudge any of the players who are playing at LIV. I don't. And so then the reporter said, well, do you think it's time that the PGA Tour and the European Tour and the LIV series sits down and talks about life and the pursuit of happiness? And Rory said, yes, I do. And I think there's a way that all 3 can coexist.
What?
Whoa. I'm sorry. What did you just say? And let's be honest, there have been times in which it's looked, Mark, like Jay Monahan's taking his marching orders from Rory. Rory's been ahead of Jay Monahan a few times in the last 5 months.
What do you think Jay Monahan did when he saw that interview yesterday?
Freaked out, and not in a good way.
That was the first thing I thought when I watched it, that Jay Monahan must have damn near fainted when he saw that. Because it's damn near a 180 from everything. It is a 180 from everything Rory said.
Well, if it ain't a 180, it's a 120. I mean, it's, hey, we need to find a solution, and there should be common ground. Really?
And as we've talked about on this show and on and off air, Phil Mickelson will never, ever get any credit for basically telling the PGA Tour exactly what they were doing wrong, how to fix it, and what needed to be done, because all of them have happened in very short order.
And by the way, more and more guys are leaving the PGA Tour. You know, Paul Casey left. And you want to go, well, okay, he's a European and he's in his early 40s. Yeah, there's going to be more. Trust me, there's going to be more.
I think there's going to be more, perhaps by Monday. And if not by Monday, by a week from Monday.
Yeah, I think between the British Open and the LIV event in Bedminster, which I think starts July 29th. Yeah, that's going to be about 11, 12 days. Yeah.
And some guys might not want to answer questions at the British about leaving,
Correct.
so they'll leave after the British.
The one thing, though, that Rory held firm on, and Padraig Harrington and other Euros have said, they don't believe that the Ian Poulters of the world should be able to play LIV and the DP World Tour, which is interesting. You and I both thought that they'd want the older European guy who's helped that tour out for 20 years to be able to come back and finish his career playing on the tour. Rory and Padraig and others have said, nope, you made your choice. You're done. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Ooh, she got a break in this.
Oh, when you're ready, we can put this behind us. Baby, we could. Oh
my gosh.
That's
a terrible miss.
That was awful.
Is that the 34-year-old or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be cool if she won.
Oh, man. Looking like me out there.
Was supposed to hit the middle of your racket?
Twitch chat, who was better, Bjorn Borg or Boris Becker? Borg? Yeah.
Another good show today.
Ooh. Okay, we got Borg and Becker. Can't wait to ask these guys.
Oh.
David, who was better, Bjorn Borg or Boris Becker?
Borg.
Mark, who was better, Bjorn Borg or Boris Becker?
Borg.
2 for 2.
Becker helped bring in the power game. I mean, if you really think about it, Becker was kind of like a changing of the guard type player.
By the way, after you mentioned that, how the game now.
Oh, wow. What a shot she just hit.
She's putting her hand up.
You got to watch this shot.
Yeah, let's see.
Watch this.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
wow.
Down game point, too. She doesn't hit that shot. She's down 4-1.
What's this girl's first name?
It starts with an O. Is it like Ors? O-R-S, I think.
But you mentioned last week how the game now, I mean, on the men's side, I don't know about the women's side, the young game is like more power.
Oh, it has been for 20, 30 years, but definitely the last 15, 20.
But
it's all baseline.
Yeah, baseline, right.
Yeah, there's no serve and volleys.
That was the difference between Nadal and Fritz. Fritz was trying to take Nadal to the baseline, but Nadal is one of the best defensive tennis players of all time. And Nadal just has more finesse, more sauce. The Euro sauce versus the American power.
It's just a better player.
Well, yeah, that too. Nadal's a master.
Well, not on this surface.
Oh, come on. I'm going to continue to trash the decision to put Devin Booker on the cover, but man, that is one of the nicest 2K covers I've ever seen in my life. It's really cool. I'm a fan. 2K still sucks, though. Poverty franchise. Make better games, please. What is it, 7-7? Anything notable happened today?
You're about to find out.
We are about to find out, indeed.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question at floridasportsnetwork.com. Should the Browns have traded Baker Mayfield? I mean, let's be honest. Watson's going to be suspended here. It's just a matter of for how long. And everybody involved thinks it's going to be significant. So it means right now Jacoby Brissett's the starter for a team that envisions himself as not just a playoff team. They envision themselves as a contender. And we were talking earlier in the show about, this is the time of year where people make their lists, who had the best offseason, who has the best roster. I've seen Cleveland in top fives. Top fives. From people who do this for a living. Saying, take a look at the roster. It's a top 5 roster.
And the only reason right now that I'm seeing the list that I see that they're not in it is because of the question mark at the quarterback position.
Which therefore makes you beg the question, if you're running the Browns, should you have this question mark at quarterback? You didn't necessarily have to do what you did yesterday, right?
But they did, and 2/3 of you think it's the right move. Our poll question today is, with the Deshaun Watson suspension looming, should the Browns have traded Baker Mayfield? 2/3 of you say, yep, it was over. And 1/3 of you saying, no way. Moulton and I are in the no way category. And we've been that way for months.
Correct. Now, We also have then said very quickly, if you feel that for whatever reason this relationship cannot be saved, well, then you better go get Jimmy G. And I would have done it a month ago, but
now Baker's gone.
I just don't know what to say. I think they're waiting for the suspension to be official. I wouldn't, because Jimmy G could end up somewhere else. And then, honestly, what are they going to do? Or as the Reds COO said,
where are you going to go?
Yeah, where are they going to go if it's not Jimmy G? Somebody tell me. I mean, what, Sam Darnold? Honestly, where do they go? They cannot look their fans and their players in the face and say, well, Jacoby Brissett, that's why we signed him.
And they can't look at him and say, we didn't think Deshaun Watson was going to get suspended for the year.
Right. Well, or at least half the year.
Right. But I mean, when he gets suspended, they can't go up there and say, well, we just never expected this.
Right.
Really?
Right. That's why you reworked his $46 million contract. So that's a $45 million signing bonus and a $1 million salary. So when he's suspended and he loses X number of game checks, he loses the least amount of money possible by league rule. Right. Nobody was thinking about this when this deal was made 3 months ago. No one at all. Just sprung it on you, huh? You're thinking about it for the first time.
It's not rocket science.
Well, clearly, and they were on top of it. I mean, Watson's people negotiated.
It's not that it's nothing to do with rocket science. It has to do with the fact that this was negotiated this way because everybody knew a suspension was coming.
I mean, if the Browns didn't know a suspension was coming, Watson's people told him, listen, when I get suspended and I ain't losing $46 million in salary, so we need to work this out where you pay me most of this up front, and whatever I lose, I can afford to lose it.
And, we're being asked, do you think the Browns have any idea on the length of the Watson suspension? No. The one thing that we know pretty much for certain is that Raj and company does not tip their hand to a team. They never have, and they never will.
Next week, by the way, is when final briefs are supposed to be presented to the judge. So, any talk that you've heard from the national media about, a quick resolution, no. I mean, she heard this before the July 4th holiday and then was not demanding briefs on July 5th. I mean, I think they have till the end of next week. So then obviously she's going to look it over and make
her decision or recommend her decision.
The earliest, the week of the 18th.
Right.
Now, I would expect it to be mid to late the week of the 18th, because what's the week of the 25th?
Training camp.
There you go.
As someone in the Twitch chat puts it, it's all good. Blake Bortles is still out there.
Oh.
He can open a segment, that's for sure.
Someone to take back this segment.
Yep.
For no
Doing his
reason
job,
than to
not
stop
sure.
David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Start in 1912.
Hold on a second. I mean, there's talk of Meghan and Harry with a second interview. With
Oh,
Oprah.
my God. Stop it, please. Breathe,
Come on, you
Mark.
got to appreciate a little something for the effort. No.
1912.
Out.
Jim Thorpe
In.
wins 4 or 5 events to win the pentathlon gold medal at the Stockholm Olympics. The medal would be stripped a year later because he played pro baseball, would be reinstated 70 years later.
Right.
This is one of those, you always like to play the game, what if this quarterback took this job where?
Yeah.
One of those was today in 1914. Baltimore Orioles owner Jack Dunn offers Babe Ruth, Ernie Shore, and Ben Egan to Connie Mack, who owned the Philadelphia A's, for $10K. Connie Mack refuses, pleading lack of finance.
Boy. Where's 10K when you really need it?
When you really need it. You know that phrase, better than sliced bread?
Right.
We didn't say that before 1928 because it was today in Missouri that Otto Frederick Rawwetter invented the sliced bread machine and sold sliced bread for the first time, described as the greatest forward step in the baking industry since bread was wrapped, David.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Hence, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And now you know the rest of the story.
1934, Mary Hirsch, who is the daughter of three-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer Max Hirsch, becomes the first woman licensed to train thoroughbred horses in the U.S. today in 1934. In 1939, Bobby Riggs wins Wimbledon and also finished the Wimbledon sweep. He won doubles and mixed doubles as well in 39.
Which needs to be taken into consideration. Remember the famous Bobby Riggs. First he beat Margaret Court, but then he loses to Billie Jean King. Well, when does he lose to Billie Jean King? He loses in the early 70s.
74, I think.
So think about that. He wins the Wimbledon and U.S. Open in what, 39?
39.
Right. So it's 35 years later. I mean, Bobby Riggs is in his late 50s or right around 60 when he played Billie Jean King. It's shocking to me, Mark, that society 50 years ago saw that as an even match. But I think it was because, I mean, he beat the tar out of Margaret Court a couple months earlier, like 1-1. He destroyed her. But when you look back now, you're like, well, I understand he's a great player and all that, but he was like 57. I mean, what the heck?
Also in 39, Dick Burton wins the British Open at St. Andrews. I only bring this up because it would be the last time the Open would be played for 7 years because of World War II. 1965, Otis Redding records Respect. Someone else would record it and get a little more love.
Do pretty well with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beatles release All You Need Is Love today in 67, and Light My Fire by the Doors hits #1 in the land. 1972, Billie Jean King wins her 8th Grand Slam singles title, winning Wimbledon, beating Yvonne Goolagong. And in 1973, King would repeat as champ, taking down Chris Evert in straight sets. 1978, Martina wins her first Grand Slam title, beating Chrissy in 3. In this one, David, in 78, an NBA franchise swap. Buffalo Braves owner gets the Celtics. The Celtics owner gets the Braves, which become the Clippers.
The San Diego Clippers.
Franchise swap. Wow.
And think about that. By the way, the guy who owned the Celtics, the Celtics traded it for the Buffalo Braves. Now, don't get me wrong. The Buffalo Braves had Jack Ramsey for a short time as head coach with Bob McAdoo and Randy Smith, and they were actually fun. They were entertaining. Yeah. They never had a deep playoff run, but they were a fun, entertaining team. But you owned the Celtics,
the Boston Celtics
in the 70s.
Yeah. What are you doing? Didn't Bob McAdoo win MVP his rookie year?
I don't know if it was rookie year, might have been, but yeah, McAdoo was amazing.
1979, Bjorn Borg beats Roscoe Tanner for his 4th consecutive Wimbledon title.
But Tanner took him to 5 sets, which was considered a really big deal because he had demolished Connors Borg had the year before in the finals.
And was up 2-1.
Right. Tanner would beat Borg at a night match at the U.S. Open 3 months later to get his revenge.
Tanner served like 130 miles an hour.
Made it to the semis, lost to Vitas, and then Vitas lost to McEnroe in the finals.
Today in 81, Sandra Day O'Connor was nominated for the Supreme Court, the first female Supreme Court justice. In 85, Boris Becker becomes the youngest to win Wimbledon at 17. Today in 87, that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North began his public testimony.
Boy, and America stopped and watched.
Oh, did we ever.
All day, baby.
CNN, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. In the early days. Yeah.
90 Wimbledon, Martina wins her 9th, beating Zina Garrison. And it was also today in 1990 that the Devils signed Vyacheslav Fedosov and Sergei Starkarov to NHL contracts, despite criticism that they were taking what, David? North American jobs away. Those damn Russians.
That was really the beginning of Ross Perot and NAFTA. I kid. That's a joke.
It's a good one, too.
Thank you.
Today in 01, in his first appearance since the death of his father, Junior wins the Pepsi 400 to beating teammate Michael Waltrip, coming down from 7th to win in the last 9 laps.
I had tears in my eyes. I watched it. You guys had a hockey game. There was something going on because it was July, so you guys didn't have a hockey game, but I was at the arena for something.
Probably a AF2 game.
And I stayed, you're probably right. And I stayed and watched the final hour of the race in the bar there. had tears in my eyes when it is the only time he looked in a car like his dad. He drove his ass off in those final handful of laps. He was amazing to win that race.
07, Venus wins Wimbledon as the 20 seed, beating the 18 seed, the lowest seeds ever in a contest final. 2020, Serena wins her 5th crown. 5 hours later, she would win the doubles title with her sister.
Beast.
And in 2013, Andy Murray beats Joker, becoming the first Brit to win since 1936. And finally, it was a year ago today that Tampa beat Montreal 1-0 in Game 5 to retain the title. Those born today that are no longer with us, the guy that sliced the bread, Otto, born today in 1880. Satchel Paige, born today in 1906. Ezzard Charles, former world heavyweight champion, born today in 1921. Those that are celebrating their birthdays. Ringo Starr is 82 years old today. Tony Jacklin is 78. Shelley Duvall is 73. Ralph Sampson, 62, David.
Wow.
Jim Gaffigan, one of your favorites, is 56. Chuck Knobloch is 54. Joe Sakic is 53. And Chase Claypool is a mere 24 years old today. And that, David, is today was the day when. What did I miss?
Well, the one anniversary that I just want to point out, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter, former President Carter and former First Lady, are celebrating their 76th wedding anniversary today. Wow. He was 21 when he married the 18-year-old. He was serving in the military. She was working at a hair salon.
Nope.
76 anniversary.
Married at 21. No. Nope.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Your event, David, happened today. The good, it's back.
What's that?
Earlier today in Pamplona, Spain, the running of the bull.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
What? Come on now. What kind of a day is that?
6 people brought to the hospital. A 30-year-old American fractured his left arm. A 16-year-old Spanish boy lost part of his finger in the bull ring. And there was a pileup of runners at the entrance, which 4 men were treated for injuries, but no goring in day 1 of the running of the bulls.
Lost part of a finger, though. I mean, that's a little something for the effort right there.
It really is. For the back, we go to Cape Coral, where something that I probably do far more often than I should happened. Gentleman went to the bank. Gentleman went to the bank, went inside, and left his car running. That's when Lucas Schultz and Daniel McClung jumped in the running car and went for a joyride. They were arrested, charged with grand theft, and one was on probation. So the 2 smart young men will spend some time in jail for stealing the running car. Finally, the ugly, we go to Naples, where Yula Yunge, 44, created a fake house account at a boutique and stole over $400,000. Took her a year to do also. She was returning the items, started the account in someone else's name, and then would return them and put them on her credit card. She's quite a gal, and she's going to spend quite a time in the pokey. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, July the 7th, 2022.
Marlins are in New York to begin a 4-game series with the Mets. The Rays are off. You got Yankees in Boston to face the Red Sox. Braves and Cardinals wrap up their 4-game series that the Braves have won the first 3 of. And you got 3 afternoon games. None of them really noteworthy, although the Phillies, I guess, and Astros are playing. So a couple of good teams. They're not playing each other, but they're playing. And that'll do it. Good show. If you missed any of it, go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download it. Thanks so much for being with us. Have a great rest of your day. Miller and Moulton. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your